Thank you for staying with us. Let's settle for the news now. In our first story, former President John Dramani Mahama says the governing New Patriotic Party has exhibited that it cannot resolve Ghana's economic crisis. He outlined reckless election-related expenditure, mismanagement, and lack of proper leadership as causes of the economic downfall, which have compelled government to reach out to the International Monetary Fund. Mr. Mahama was speaking at the closing ceremony of a retreat for the Minority Caucus in Parliament at the Volta Serene Hotel in Ho.
Can wipe away the irrefutable fact that our present economic situation stems from reckless election-related expenditure, mismanagement, ineptitude, and lack of leadership. Irresponsibility is to shift responsibility to others. Leaders are simply not worth the mandate of many people. What Ghana requires today is serious to reverse the trajectory of the economic collapse that meant. Although my call Akakpo to take reflective into the management of it is more than ever that those who superintend disaster don't even realize the cause or gravity of the problem and cannot be relied upon to find any credible remedy for it. Yeah. We in the end will continue to play our part by holding this government to account and offering viable alternatives. Where the NPP saw political advantage and an opportunity for political rent, we see a nation in distress that requires urgent salvation in 2022 when we have gone back to the IMF. And that is why we have been measured and responsible in our commentary and posturing over the latest decision by this government. It's also the reason why we've insisted on effective scrutiny of the economic and financial decisions of this government at this time, especially in Parliament. We do not believe that the existence of crisis permits even more reckless decision-making. All decisions and policy choices made at this critical juncture could offer relief or could exacerbate our problems and make recovery extremely difficult. We must go, and we need to stop further digging.
Meanwhile, President Akakpo has assured Ghanaians that the government will negotiate a good deal with the International Monetary Fund. He says the governing New Patriotic Party has a track record of negotiating deals that best serve the interest of the country.
And it is these concerns for the welfare of ordinary people that will guide the party in the negotiations that we're about to have with the International Monetary Fund. Our responsibility is to confront the difficulties that are confronting our people and find an effective solution to it. And that's exactly what we are going to do. We came to office under an IMF program, a derailed IMF program, which we inherited from the Mahama administration. We worked hard to exit the country from the program, and we were in the process of building a strong economy until the events of COVID and its consequences. I want to assure you and assure the people of Ghana that we're going to negotiate a good deal with the IMF, a deal that would allow us to revive our economy and to continue the task of building an even stronger economy than we had before. And we'll be in a position not only to negotiate, but implement a good arrangement. Our party, we have a tradition of taking Ghana out of difficulties. We took Ghana out of HIPIC in President Kufuor's time. We took Ghana out of the derailed IMF program of 2015. Our party was the one that made it possible for us to survive the COVID pandemic.
While staying there, the president has also stressed that the free education policy at the senior high and basic school levels would not be cancelled despite the current economic crisis in the country. He noted that government had identified education as an equalizer of opportunity and would continue to channel resources into the sector to ensure the effective training of the Ghanaian child.
I wish you many more years of continued success. Ladies and gentlemen, government will not renege on its commitment to provide quality education and equal opportunities for future generations to have a good education. Regardless of the difficulties currently confronting our nation due to the effects of COVID-19, which have been exacerbated even further by the consequences of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the government will continue to intervene and remain responsible for the provision of free and quality basic and secondary education for all. Education should be a right of which all of Ghana's youth can avail. Today's youth running barefoot to school could be a future leader of business, industry, or government. Education is the equalizer of opportunity. I'm in this position as President of the Republic because of education. And I want every child to attend school, not just for what they learn in books, but for the life experiences that they will gain. I want each of them to look in the mirror in the morning, every morning, and know that they can achieve anything they dream of when they complete their studies. I want them to be confident that what they study is relevant to the demands of today and of tomorrow. I want every child to be comfortable in the knowledge that when they work hard, they will be as capable as anyone else in the world. And I want parents to look upon their children with pride as they will watch them mature into self-confident adults. Education is indeed the key.
Well, staying with the president, he has also lauded the contributions of the University of Health and Allied Sciences to augment healthcare delivery in Ghana by producing the requisite human resources. He explains that the university dedicated to research and community service delivered tremendously on its mandate, evident in the strides chalked within the last decade. The president gave these remarks in Ho at the 10th anniversary celebration of UHAS.
The University of Health and Allied Sciences was established by an Act of Parliament, Act 828, in December 2011. UHAS, which took off with the matriculation of 154 students in 2012, now has a student population of over 7,600. The university, situated in Ho and Hohoe, has witnessed steady development within the last 10 years, where 11 academic units have been established with over 5,400 health professionals graduating. The university was named first in Ghana in the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking in 2022 in the SDG 3 category, among other glories. Speaking at the 10th anniversary celebration of UHAS, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor John Kwejo Japon, said the university remains focused on delivering on its mandate.
But along the way, it hasn't been as smooth as I've made it sound. We have had many distractions. Sometimes very, very worrying, and not just in my term, but in Professor Binka's term. But we have remained focused. We have really remained focused. Because Winston Churchill said, you will never reach your destination if you stop to throw stones at every dog that barks at you. So we will not be perturbed. We will move forward in very focused manner. For that reason, and for the many things that I've said, we know that the University of Health and Allied Sciences is in a very good state today, because we have remained focused and we have avoided mission creep, which the Chairman of Council alluded to. because we believe that specialized universities are essential for national development. This is the University of Health and Allied Sciences, and we shall remain a University of Health and Allied Sciences.
President Akufo-Addo, who was the guest of honor, appreciated the efforts of the management in developing the university solely dedicated to producing health professionals.
They are to be warmly commended for the roles they have played in their lifetime, and for those who have passed on to eternal glory, to be posthumously recognized for their efforts in helping build UMass. I envisage you to be greater, to be leaders in community medicine, and to solve problems in healthcare, making discoveries in alternative medicine, sports and exercise medicine, and medical education. I'm looking forward to hearing, seeing and experiencing all your medical breakthroughs in glaucoma treatment and in cardiothoracic procedures. I want to hear that your products are making a positive impact and building a strong and distinctive healthcare workforce across the globe.
He inspected the progress of work on the second phase of the UHAS development project, where the School of Nursing and Midwifery, Central Administration Block, Duty and Equipment Units are being constructed. The government has also made available 6 million Ghana cedis of counterpart funding for the extension of electricity and water to the campus and the construction of storm and waste drains, among other ancillary services. The president, before his departure, commissioned the Sokode Hall of Residence for the students. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News. Ho.
Well, from Ho, let's come back to Accra and from allegations of vote buying, an injunction that prevented 291 TESCON members from voting to the shocking defeat of incumbent General Secretary of the MPP, that is John Bwedu, and the expected victory of Stephen Ntim as chairman. The MPP Delegates Conference at the Accra Sports Stadium lived up to the billing of a heated political contest. Maxwell Agbagba has a wrap of what happened on the day.
In your future endeavors, the elephant is our symbol.
Please be upstanding. Over 6,000 of them, draped in NPP colors and party paraphernalia, filled a section of the Accra Sports Stadium. The conference, which was scheduled to start in the morning, started some minutes after 2 p.m. with minority political parties and the main opposition party, the NDC, delivering their fraternal messages. Leader of the NDC delegation and Deputy General Secretary Peter Boama Otokuno did not mince words. It was a no-holds-barred speech laced with innuendos and criticism from introduction to conclusion.
I take particular notice of the levels of ostentation on display and regret deeply, rather deeply, that the MPP do not exhibit any modicum of the ability to appreciate the need to be sensitive to the people of Ghana in these times of great suffering and pain. The New Patriotic Party remains the luckiest political organization in Ghana, yet have only offered poor leadership, incompetent leadership, leading to the current economic meltdown and hardship for all Ghanaians. And we were coming. I decided to buy a ball of kenke. This ball of kenke sells for 5 cedis. The leaves on the kenke alone will be 3 cedi, more expensive than the kenke itself. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I bought the kenke with my Ghana card.
Thank you very much.
President Akufo-Addo in a speech said Ghana will negotiate a good deal with the IMF, one that will help build a stronger economy.
We came to office under an IMF program, a derailed IMF program, which we inherited from the Mahama administration. We worked hard to exit the country from the program, and we were in the process of building a strong economy until the events of COVID and its consequences. I want to assure you and assure the people of Ghana that we're going to negotiate a good deal with the IMF, a deal that will allow us to revive our economy and to continue the task of building an even stronger economy than we had before.
For those urging the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to resign over the prevailing harsh economic conditions and the decision to go to the IMF, that may not happen, as he says it is like a father neglecting his child in times of difficulty.
You know, it's almost like telling a father to resign from his children because he's changed his mind. You know, there are times that decisions have to be made for the survival of a country, and therefore if circumstances such as COVID or Ukraine war occur, which are not typical, it does change the environment, and sensible people will change their minds.
The party had issued a clear warning ahead of the election, barring candidates from paying transportation, food and accommodation for delegates. The party said it would take up the cost to prevent any incident of vote buying. A candidate for the chairmanship position, Stephen Asamoah-Boateng, admitted he paid transportation costs. He alleged that other candidates were engaged in vote buying.
I'm confident I win. But yet today, I hear people are going behind me with money. They want to buy your vote. They are using money now, and when they finish, they cannot come to you.
Are you saying that you've not paid a dime to anybody?
I have gone round 3 times. I've given them TNT 3 times. Those who are coming with money now, they went once, and they gave only 200. At least I gave TNT 3 times, 150, 150, and then 100. So I've given some. So I'm giving some. And then they came last night. I've given them something. But others are going back. They want to buy votes. I don't know where the money is coming from. My supporters are staying firm. They are very solid. They say, Asabi, we send them. But we are taking their money. But we are voting for you. If the party don't restructure the way we conduct these internal elections, we can never tell where a drug dealer, a money launderer will take over our parties.
So who is paying?
I won't name them, but they know themselves.
The elephant is we shall win.
291 members of the tertiary institution wing of the NPP TESCON were barred from voting because of an injunction. Here are some of them who say the party would need its youth to break the 8.
They say that you are really disappointed, and it's not only me. 291 fellow patrons of TESCON, sleepless nights, we work tirelessly for our various institutions to bring members on board for the NPP. And them saying to break the 8, and we the youth without us, I don't think breaking the 8 will be possible.
We can't break the 8 without the youth. And who are the youth? The youth are those in the institutions, of which we have taken the mandate as their president to organize them. You get it? Yeah. So in our various institutions, we have our various mandate that we do.
And as we give that a wrap of the MPP Delegates Conference, we also wrap the news. But stay with us. Up next, the AM News Review. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the news review. We'll be joined by Suleimana Abrahima, Executive Director. In fact, we have Suleimana Abrahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Suleimana, welcome aboard. Hope you had a good weekend.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a busy weekend and quite a fascinating one.
I'm sure, definitely. Of course, on the back of the National Delegates Conference of the MPP as well, we had a whole lot to talk about. We'll get into that. But, Sule, here's something that hit me yesterday that got me laughing at myself. And I felt I might as well share it with you. So, after church on Sunday, there's this kenke seller who, sells kenke, shrimp, this little tilapia. You know the ones I'm talking about. 1 mouth, 1,000. octopus and all of that. So I go there because I felt I had some banku at home. So I felt, oh, let me just get a little, so what I say, a garnishing so that I can get home and at least after all the tiring weekend, I would rest a bit. So I go and order 20 cedis of the octopus and 10 cedis of the small tilapia. Now I get to my car and something prompted me. I was checking something and then I looked into the bag and realized that, she had given me just one, small pack of the octopus. So I felt, I've been buying from her over the years. So I felt, the woman had made a mistake. So I go back, Suleimana, you wouldn't imagine the vim, the pep with which I went. And, oh, mommy, I think you give me one instead of two. And she deflated me to my utmost surprise. She just told me, oh, my son, it seems it's been a while. Now, a while she refers to is just a few weeks ago. What I was getting for 10 cedis is now 20 cedis. So she had actually done the right thing by giving me just one instead of two. Sule, I was in shock. And she then had to explain to me that, look, the carton we were getting for maybe 200 thereabouts is now over 400 cedis and this and that. I was absolutely in shock. I was laughing at myself.
No, I think it's not just unique to you. It happened to me last week. I went for a meeting in town. On my way back, very, very hungry, and I decided to get these plantain chips. So because I was very hungry, they were tied in two pieces. One was quite big. The other one, what we know to sell for 2 cedis. So I tell my colleague in the car, Charlie, I'm very, very hungry, so I'm going to get the big one. So I pull my 5 cedis because I know it to be 2 cedis and 5 cedis. So this lady passes by and I call her and I say, oh, Charlie, me peke sieno. And the lady says, I know you're 20 cedis. And I said, what about this? Nakitwana? He said, oh, I know you're 10 cedis. So I'm like, so 2 and 5 is now 10 and 20. So basically I had to go for the 10 one, which was like what we used to know it for maybe 2 cedis or 5 cedis. So it's not just you, but it's not also the problem of the sellers.
Oh no. Like I explained with mine, she actually broke it down and told me, look, the carton we were getting at a certain price has more than doubled. We can't do anything but pass on the cost to the consumer.
Exactly. So times are quite difficult. Transport fares, are affecting a lot of things, and of course, the prices themselves are quite, especially if it is an imported item. We know about the dollar value relationship. The dollar CD value relationships and all of that. So it's quite a tough time for our country. And people are really struggling. We are all struggling.
But we also do know that some people are taking undue advantage of the situation. So maybe they go to different parts of the country, get something for, let's assume, 5 cedis up north or, in getting close to the northern belt of the country. Then they come down south. Yes, barring everything, maybe they should have been selling that thing for 8 cedis and they're selling it for about 15 cedis on the rest. We know about such people as well. And again, it goes back to what some people were calling for in the past, that should we attempt price regulation once more? You remember, what's the term? Kalabule. And all those times where there had to be price regulation and you can't sell above a certain controlled price and all of that. But in these times, the feasibility of it is a problem, especially in a capitalist market like ours. These are some problems. I don't know what your thinking is on that before we get into the daily graphic.
Absolutely. It's going to be quite a challenge because in marketing now and in businesses, I think it's all about your strategy and how you decide to make profit within the system. So you were making a point about somebody having to travel to the north in order to get certain items at a cheaper price and then bringing it down to Accra to make some maybe windfall. The reality is that these days the transport alone will cost you quite a lot. And then we don't have to also forget about the inconveniences that people go through. Yes, in the end, he may have gotten or she may have gotten the commodity at a lower price, but getting it all the way to Accra, apart from transport, there is inconvenience. You come and some of the items may either have been spoiled or your sacks have been torn. their goods have been delivered at a place where you have to struggle to get them back to your location.
Right.
So there's a lot of system issues that we have to deal with. So even those who think they want to be smart by going to the interior to get the items, it's still not easy, because people living in the rural areas will also tell you that prices have really gone up, even in terms of food, which are produced in those local communities. Prices are really up.
Prices are high. So we have just about some 15 to 20 minutes. So let's make the most of the time. The Daily Graphic this morning. After laboring for 20 years, Stephen Ayesu team chairs NPP. Kodua upsets John Wedu to win General Secretary position. I'll bring you just some snippets of that, and then you can analyze for me some of the major happenings at the event. Now, after 20 years of disappointment, heartbreak, and as he himself put it, wandering in the political wilderness, Stephen Ayesu Tim has been finally elected national chairman of the NPP. He clinched a landslide victory at the party's national annual delegates conference at the Accra Sports Stadium over the weekend and immediately declared, quote, "The new national executive will work assiduously to win the 2024 elections." So there are quite a number of things to digest. First of all, with this crop of executive that you see, from Stephen Ayesu Tim to JFK, Justin Frimpong Kodua, or Kodua Frimpong, to Rita Asobayire, as one of the national chair people, they jettisoned Michael Omarewadi, my own friend. He was first national vice chair. They jettisoned him. Henry Nanabuachi's case is an interesting one, because if you look at the regional divisions, it's the Ashanti region, basically, with their numbers that pushed him. Because if you look at all the other regions, Titus Glover did a fantastic job, the MP for Tema East, I guess, who has been Member of Parliament for Tema East. And you look at the different dynamics, but the rest of them, maybe not too many surprises, the Nasara coordinator and all of that. But what picture did you get at the National Delegates Conference in terms of the people that were elected?
Well, first of all, I would say congratulations to all those who won at the Congress. It's an exercise that really contributes to our democracy. Prior to the Congress, I had mooted the idea that given the circumstances at the time, it would have been appropriate for a consideration of postponement. But a day later or so, the government took an action that somehow calmed the nerves of organized labor in terms of the 15% COLA announcement. And so in terms of the results, of course, one cannot but be happy for Stephen Ayesu team, who has been contesting for this same position for close to 2 decades now. And it tells you how determined he has been and the resilience. And many people in the NPP will tell you that even as he kept losing, he was still committed to the political party in terms of resource commitment, in terms of other ways of demonstrating commitment. People will tell you, look, he kept printing posters and banners and all of that for the political party across the country, even as the party continued to reject him.
Right.
And so it's a great development for him. And I think that the party did well by recognizing his years of service, his years of contribution, and the years of determination. And he comes from the Brong area. I believe it is the first time the MPP is having a national chairman from that area. So that's also a significant dynamic in terms of the geography and the dynamics and as people would say, sometimes where the chairman comes from really matters. He contested.
Do you think, pardon the interjection, but quick thought, do you think coming from where he does is what actually impeded him before? And now, of course, his hard work and loyalty can't be, overlooked. But do you think maybe that also, like you rightly said, first time we're having a chairman of the party from that region, maybe that also impeded him in the past, considering those he was going against?
Well, I think to a large extent, Mr. Tim's fortunes had been mostly undermined by the system being against him. Because if you speak to insiders, they will tell you that for some time now, the system was against him. At one point, he was perceived to be pro-Alan. And I think for
has that changed though? Has that changed? Because now that he's in pole position, and some are insinuating the general secretary as well, that they are in the camp of Alan. I mean, there are so many. It's a storm of conversations around that.
Yeah, but at this time, the consideration was that, look, for 4 consecutive times, this man has contested and lost, and yet he had not, for a moment decided to either quit the party or minimize his commitment or reduce his commitment. And so, look, let's reward him for that. Let's forget about whether he is pro-Alan or pro-Nana and so on. And I think this time, too, deliberately and consciously, Stephen Team remained a bit quiet, and so it was also difficult to really position him in terms of Alan or Bawumia. People thought that, well, somehow he's compromised, and so let's go for him. So 2 things worked for him. One, he decided to move a little bit into the center, and then secondly, the years of determination and trying to become the party chairman.
Right.
So obviously there was system issues against him. The last elections, I'm told that the presidency had admonished him to allow Mr. Freddie Blade to go, and then later on they would also sort him out, and he decided to contest.
There were times when those at the helm had said, I can't work with this person, I can't work with that person. All of that happened.
Exactly. So that had been the bane of Mr. Stephen Team. I think he's a calm person. People would attest to the fact that his commitment to the party has been quite unparalleled over the years. And so it's not surprising that...
All right, Suleimana, let's get into this. So 2 quick things. First of all, they've elected their executive. Were you surprised by what happened to John Boadu? People had insinuated. We had Dr. Richard Amwakuba come here and say that, look, I am a party member. I have contested in party elections. He's become arrogant. He's unreachable as far as the grassroots of the party is concerned. Maybe he thinks he's got the war chest, the armory financially, and so he can pay his way through. These are not my words. These are the words of analysts and party members, which may have led to his losing in this manner by about 6 percentage points. Let's look at that. Let's look at whether the crop of executive can break the 8.
Well, I am not surprised, and I was not surprised about John Boadu losing. I knew he was going to lose. In fact, I was surprised.
You knew he was going to lose? How?
Yes, I knew he was going to lose, and I'm surprised about the votes that he still managed to garner. But I believe that was to a large extent because of the support that he was having from the system. The presidency was certainly backing John Boadu. He had the resources, and they orchestrated this whole agenda of having the regional chairman declaring, which was a very, very unfortunate development in a political party like the MPP. I knew he was going to lose because talking to people, a lot of people will tell you the same things that you mentioned. He had become quite arrogant. He was unreachable. He was, for a lot of time, not being found at the party headquarters on his seat. People will tell you he wasn't solving problems at the grassroots and at the constituency levels.
He had promised party offices, across the country and all of that, some of which had not. In fact, that particular promise had not materialized.
Well, I mean, that remained a promise. And people would tell you, look, if you had a general secretary that delivered the results of 2020, I mean, the very first time that an incumbent government had to struggle that much in order to continue to stay in power, the first time we have a split parliament, despite the huge dominance of the MPP in the first term. So what then is the track record of the general secretary? Even though people would say, oh, he's a doer, he delivers, and so on and so forth. But that's the general secretary that delivered the 2020 results that we have.
Right.
And then if you look at JFK, I think the other area that people forgot to look at is the fact that heading the Youth Employment Agency or Authority, to some extent delivered a certain amount of votes to him in the basket, because I believe that currently the arrangement is that the district coordinators of the Youth Employment Agency are at the same time the youth organizers at the district level. And given that he works with these people, that meant that he had some 260 or so people in the basket already, even ahead of the elections.
Right.
And he comes from the Ashanti region. He's played a significant role in the Ashanti region, and getting the votes from the Ashanti region was again something that was very significant. And people would tell you he's calm, convivial, he engages, and so on and so forth. And people also thought that, look, I mean, we are tired of President Akufo-Addo and his people seeking to take absolute control of the political party. And so this time around, we will go for the people that we think we would want, and not who is Akufo-Addo's man and who is this man, and so on and so forth. So certainly, what happened is a reflection of, the aspirations of the people, and the fact that President Akufo-Addo may be losing the grips on the political party.
Well, he's getting out of the political picture. I mean, he's gradually easing out of the political picture. So maybe not much to worry about. Quickly, as we move to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So the TESCON, 291 of them, TESCON members, they felt very aggrieved, an injunction placed at the last hour. And they feel that there was some machination to prevent them from voting. And those 291 votes, mind you, could have swung some of the results that we saw. What does this mean for the results as we see them now? And throw in the bit about Stephen Asamoah Boateng, who contested for the chairmanship position, who alleges that his counterparts were throwing money around. If you could address both in a minute, I'd be grateful. So we get into the Ghanaian Times.
Well, I don't know the basis for disenfranchising the TESCON folks, and they've taken the right step in seeking to petition. But some of these things happen because maybe a powerful person in the party thought that, look, if we allow these people to vote, they are going to vote this way or that way, which may not be in our interest. But certainly, if over the years they've been allowed to vote, and this time around that is not the case, it sets a bad precedent. And I believe that the leadership of the party would have to look into it. In terms of Asabi, again, I was not surprised that he lost. People thought that, look, going into 2024, the election is going to be quite crucial, and someone who would be quite boisterous, someone who would be quite combative is needed to lead the political party. Those who were supporting Asamoah Boateng, that was the idea that, look, we don't need someone like in Team who is quite calm and not too frontal. We need somebody who would be boisterous and engage forcefully and all of that. But Asabi, even in the campaign, I didn't feel him that much, and so I'm not surprised that he lost. At some point, I thought that he was the one that the presidency was backing, because I was surprised that at his courage in resigning that position that he was holding as the head of SIGA, which is quite an important establishment. So to the point that he resigned, I thought that, well, he's getting the backing of the system. But this time around, the odds in favor of Stephen Tim were so massive. And so it was going to be difficult for anyone to upstage Stephen Tim.
Well, we have a statement from Stephen Asamoah Boateng congratulating, Stephen Ayesu and team. But on his allegation of money, maybe just some 10 seconds on that. What do you make of it? Is it just a reinforcement of what we know? Because he himself admits he gave delegates about 400 CDs, 150, 150, and 100. And maybe if you take out the members of parliament who will be voting, ministers and all of that, it's still millions of CDs, which is quite a lot. Your quick take on that before we look at the statement. And that statement is on your screen now.
Well, absolutely. The issue of money in our politics is one of the biggest things that we need to address. And over the years, there have been a lot of interventions seeking to address that phenomenon. So if he agrees that he parted with money to delegates and all of that.
He says that was TNT, travel and transportation, TNT.
Well, the allegation against his opponents in terms of money, I don't know how much was given and what the purpose was, because if it was more than what he gave, the person could still as well claim that he was also paying TNT.
Right. I guess it's the same stroke for all of them, same paintbrush. But let's take a quick look.
Yeah, elections are by warrants and not money.
Right. Let's take a quick look at that statement from Stephen Asamoah Boateng. It says, for immediate release, early this morning, I reached out to our new NPP chairman, Stephen Ayesu and team, and congratulated him and his team. I also told him of my desire and preparedness to avail myself at any time to serve the party as we seek to re-energize it in winning election 2024 to break the 8. I wish to thank everyone who shared in my vision for prosecuting the best campaign I've ever witnessed over the years by anyone aspiring for the position of NPP national chair. Although we could not win as we set out to do, we can be proud of a great campaign strategy and the down-to-earth grassroots interactions. I am hale and hearty, and I urge you all to also be strong and motivated for the journey which lies ahead for the NPP at large. We did what was expected of us, but the delegates believe that the currently elected executive can do better. I respect their decision without any reservation. I use this opportunity to also congratulate all newly elected executives on their respective victory, and my other contenders as well. I am always there for the party and ready to work together with all and sundry to break the 8. And he ends the message. I guess a pretty convivial message, if you would call it that. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Same talk about the delegates conference, as in team finally got the nod. NPA clamps down on Western region fuel stations cheating consumers. There's also, will negotiate good deal with the IMF. President assures the nation. He's been talking about the fact that, look, we brought the country out of HIPIC, we've brought the country out of the IMF. The last IMF program from 2015 left us in tight corner, dire straits. We brought us out, and we've done it before, we'll do it again. As someone had to remind him there, I've seen some comments that it is the MPP that took us to HIPIC and brought us out in the first place. Your quick reaction to that?
Well, no leader goes to the IMF and promises that they are going to get a bad deal. I suppose everyone goes to the IMF seeking to have a good deal. But of course, the IMF has its own objectives. So it is not that you recklessly manage your economy and then you go there and they will begin to work with you as if the IMF is a Ghanaian institution. It's an international institution that seeks to support countries that are in trouble. And so as you seek for the best for your country, the IMF, of course, as an institution, will also be seeking the best for itself going forward. The most important thing is that we should manage our country and economy in such a way that we don't, think of always going to the IMF for bailouts. Almost every government goes to the IMF, and that's really unfortunate. This government, as we keep saying, has borrowed more than any other government, I guess, in the history of our country since independence. People have been questioning, where has the money gone into? In fact, it got to a point that the government and its communicators will celebrate how much they have been able to borrow and claim that, well, because we are managing the economy well, we go to the Eurobond market and it is oversubscribed. As if to say that, look, we go in there looking for money and people just dash us money. What they don't say is that, look, we go out there looking to borrow and people are willing to give us more money and pile our debts. So for me, going back to the IMF is not something that is a positive development, even though we all knew, given the way the economy was being managed, we certainly were going to get there one day. I can understand the president talking the sweet talks as usual. We'll get a better deal for IMF as if he has control over IMF decisions. He doesn't. And at this stage, we are at a point where we cannot go out of IMF and say, well, we thought that the deal they were giving us was bad and therefore we decided not to accept.
Right.
Our hands are tied. And so we should just hope and pray that, we get a deal that wouldn't further squeeze us. But otherwise, I think this is just sweet talks. And if sweet talks was what we needed to develop this country, I think that President Akufo-Addo would have ended up being the best president. But so far, that has not been the case.
All right. So let's wrap on these two subjects. Quite a number of stories, but let's wrap with Republic Press. I won't resign, Ken Ofori-Atta replies critics. He says, guess what? It's like a father abandoning a child because of a difficult situation. There's also Economy Times. Bank of Ghana likely to hike policy rate further. Fiscal deficit to widen further as government agrees on 15% COLA. The other day I was interacting with Professor Lord Mensah on this specific bit, especially as Ghana has agreed to pay the 15% COLA, what that would mean for our economy. And then 91% of Ghanaians lack confidence in judicious use of e-levy funds. Economy Times, lack confidence, not lack confident. I mean, how can we do that? Anyway, so let's look at the Ken Ofori-Atta issue to wrap the conversation.
Well, I'm one of those who strongly support the view that he needs to resign or be fired. Because at this stage, I mean, where is the credibility? Where is the trust? And if you are the manager of our economy and people don't trust you because of how you've managed the economy and positions that you've taken in the past and statements that you've made in the past, then how do we have that confidence? And having the confidence is really important, because for people who would want to invest in the economy, who would want to invest in Ghana, sometimes these things matter. And this is the finance minister who has, taken us from let me say grace to grass. The finance minister who has borrowed more than any other finance minister, and yet in the end takes us to her peak. We are told it's COVID, but COVID gave us more than what IMF perhaps will give us. And how did we then manage with that COVID funds that came?
Right.
We are told Russia, Ukraine, yes, but we are not the only country in the world. And so where is the credibility? Where is the trust? And so far, I think he's been a monumental failure.
So you back those? You back the calls for resignation, right? You back the call for resignation. Okay,
absolutely.
all right. Thank you, Sulemana. Thank you for joining me. Always good to have you, and we're grateful for your time. Do have the best of the day, sir.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
All right. And we veer now into sports. There's a lot coming your way. We'll be telling you about Ghanaian duo Benjamin Azamati and Joseph Paul Amwa. They've been in the news lately. What do you need to know? That's up next on AM Sports. Stay. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Now we get into our big stories, and it's one major story, really. The NPP's internal elections, the National Delegates Conference, and what the activities of Saturday flowing all the way through to Sunday actually mean for the party moving forward. Joining us for that discussion, we have guests Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He is a political scientist. We also have Dr. Osai Kwapong, a CDD fellow, and Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng, political scientist at the KNUST. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning, Ben.
So I think I heard Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Good morning, Ben.
Okay.
Good morning, Ben.
All right, so I've heard, all right, Dr. Kwapong as well. Do we have Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng? All right, so we'll connect with Dr. Kwesi Amache-Boateng shortly. Dr. Asah-Asante, I'll start with you. You were here in the studio with me, and we made our projections, and you said a few things, but some shockers coming through the General Secretaryship position. But let's start with, at the time we left, matters had not been concluded. We didn't know the shape voting would take. Looking now at what happened on the day, what would be your assessment of everything that happened on the day? I mean, a summary reflection.
I think if you look at organization, it was well organized. People comported themselves. Okay. If you look at even administration, and I'm talking about the election management body, that's the EC, they also did their best. they did their homework very well. So we did not hear complaints about ink, about this, about that. All went smoothly. It means the management process was also intact. And then we saw also a lot of, people comporting themselves. It tells you that education was solid about what to do with respect to voters and what they were supposed to do during the time. If you look at also the casting of ballot itself, we didn't see much of commotion or riot or anything that undermined the process. It also went very well. And above all, when you look at the third phase of the election, that is the declaration of the results and all that. After declaration, people took it in their strides, and then they congratulated each other, and then they move on. That's the spirit of democracy. When you go for elections and you lose, you have to accept defeat and move, and then move on, all right, and abide by the rules of the game, so to speak. So all in all, the election went very well. The surprises you are talking about, I am not surprised, and I'm not sure I also surprised either. Why am I saying that? Because in election, you can't stick your neck out, fully. You need to have a window of opportunity when matters get worse, you run through. But you and I were looking at the issues, particularly results from the US branch of the party, and they give us an indication of things we should expect. Even though we thought that the numbers involved were few in terms of those who voted in that country, but we realized that they, kick out Mr. Bwedu in the US vote. We saw that. And that was a statement. Coupled with the fact that if I said that if you look at the team that the MPP presented in terms of their executive, who, pursue the agenda of the 2020. For me, their performance was not up to scratch, in the sense that we saw the figures in Parliament, and that was not a good reflection of executive who were poised to maintain power and, if for that matter, to break the eight. So my argument was that if the party continued to maintain the old order, then they are going to shoot themselves in the foot. And that there was the need to bring in fresh blood, to inject some energy into the system, and that's exactly what they did. All right, the chairmanship position was open because Mr. Blay, which I said that I did not see much of his performance when he was the chairman, even though he was a fine gentleman. He knows the nook and cranny of every political field and all that. But as a chairman, I didn't see much. But you saw that when that position became vacant, I also told you that given the experience, the skill, and then the strategy of Mr. Intim is likely to carry the day. And events put me right. He carried the day. For the secretaryship position, I was not surprised, because if you look at the campaign itself, that is 2020, a lot of deficiencies happened. Why am I saying that? You have a team like what you put out for the 2020 campaign, and NDC was able to, sweep away about 35 or more ministers and deputy ministers. It tells you that, look, there was something wrong with the leadership of the party, particularly with the secretaryship, who were supposed to coordinate all the activities, get people charged, send messages, be part of the strategy that moved the party. I didn't see that. And that is the results we had the last election. So obviously, I had no doubt in my mind that people are not going to maintain him. But you see, in elections, you have to be very careful in making definitive statements, especially in our subject as a social science. It's not the exact science. So sometimes you hold this thing to your chest. But I knew on top of my head that, look, events is going to take a different turn. And precisely so, that's what happened. I was not surprised that Jemfua was maintained, and that's a good thing. And
overwhelmingly, it was a landslide, basically, 90+% of the vote.
Yes. If you look at that one, and that of Intim right. Also put a lot, over 3,000 difference between he and Asamoah Boateng, was equal and material worth considering. But if you look at all in all, you realize that the party was ready to battle the MPP 2024, in spite of the fact that, as I said, it's going to be a daunting task for them to break the 8. But it's early days yet. Let's see how things will pan out. But for me, the election went very well. It sends a signal that if we are able to educate electorate, the movers and shakers of democracy, and even those who manage electoral processes and electoral system, we are going to have such, a modicum of peace in our election. And that message is the message we need to drum into the ears of everybody, that democracy is a contest, but it's not a violent contest. And that there's no point building the state and then at the same time you want to destroy it only to build it. That is incongruous. Nobody believes in that type of theory. Let us believe that, look, let us contest, let us, develop our theories, let us manage our processes well. But at the end of the day, if the people feel that we are good to go, they will renew our mandate or give us mandate, so to speak.
All right. Interesting. We saw some scenes as well. I mean, a few altercations, just a few. I mean, by and large, the entire event was peaceful. We can give them, the thumbs up for that. The late start to the program is what, impeded through many activities of media people and others, out of gear. There was also a situation with regard to a specific female police officer, and I single it out because, interactions with media and her reactions not exactly the most palatable, and it wasn't just one media house. But we can shelve some of those. You were talking about the crop of leaders that the MPP had, and said if they had maintained them, it would have, put quite a blow in their agenda for breaking the 8. Do you feel now that bringing in Stephen Ayesu Tim, though some people say he is too soft, so to speak, you need someone boisterous like a Stephen Asamoah Boateng, but the delegates have voted. Bringing in a Stephen Ayesu Tim, bringing in a JFK, who is not tried, tested, but who is very vocal and has put himself in that position. Is it the change that was needed, maybe, to put the MPP in a better stead ahead of 2024 in terms of breaking the 8? Because, Doc, we have that unwritten rule. You do 8 years and you move away. This is quite a hurdle that they are trying to scale, in addition to the challenges we're facing as an economy. Now, with this leadership, does it put them in any better stead?
I think it's far better than the earlier team that they put together. In terms of the performance, I saw that even though this one I've not seen their performance, but to maintain the old order was to, shoot themselves in the foot. So now that they have, all that is left is for them to organize very well. Nkrumah said, and I quote him all the time, that organization decides everything. This is a time for them to put their acts together, right the wrongs, get all the last election and examine them constituency by constituency and know what went wrong. It's a tall order, but I think that there is nothing that they cannot succumb. But I can also say without fear of contradiction that breaking the 8 is a daunting task. They need to work extra hard, and that is what I have to say.
Dr. Akakpo, I'll throw something to you. Your, universal global appreciation of what happened on Saturday weaving into Sunday. From where you sit, how did that, wash with you?
Yeah, I think I agree with Dr. Sante in terms of the overall organization, how in general everything went very smoothly. You did point out those, isolated incidents here and there. I remember I followed the election coverage throughout, so I saw that one slight incident where the police had to accost someone and talk to them. I think Mr. Samir Uku even joined in, a couple of others, to have a conversation with the police. So I think overall it was well organized. And you pointed out some of the the delays, etc. But overall, I think it was a very well organized event. I always say to my friends that we sometimes battle even more fiercely in our intra in our intra-party democracy, that we even battle inter-party democracy. But I think that is very good, very healthy for our political parties, that internal competition to ensure that you're selecting the candidates who best represent the faces and voices of the party on an everyday basis. I think that's a very good thing. So I like that. Of course, with these internal party elections, you also always hear about the issue of money. I think there was one interview with Mr. Samoa Boateng where I smiled because he was asked about the use of inducements for delegates, and he talked about how he only paid TNT. He visited them, he said, about 3 times, paid TNT. But then he's heard that other day.
But that in itself, if you're sticking strictly to what the party says, is illegal. Even what he was talking about. So basically, he was suggesting he had engaged in illegality, and that his other contenders had also engaged in illegality, albeit maybe on a higher scale.
On a higher scale, right. So there's always that issue. And I think whenever that issue comes up, it also becomes a reminder for us as we continue this discussion on how you deal with the role of money in our politics. Questions of political party financing, but then more importantly, campaign financing, and how you manage, the influence of money and the engagement of illegal, some of these illegal activities during, whether it's inter-party or whether it's during our general elections. But overall, very well organized, a good delegates conference, and the next task is to just get the leadership the party has elected to do the work that is ahead of them.
When you look at the new crop of leaders, are these the people that can let the MPP scale that hurdle in 2024, taking into, considering the economic situation, going to the IMF, and everything else that is happening? Do you feel the party has the capacity on the back of the people they've elected to scale that hurdle?
They face a Herculean task, especially as you mentioned, we've settled in this tradition of 8 years for every political party, right? And, we recycle or we change the trajectory every 8 years. And so I know the main thing for the MPP now is the slogan of breaking the 8 to see if they can actually do that. But they are also going into 2024 against the backdrop of very challenging times, a very challenging economy, a very challenging perception of who they are and what their government has been able or unable to deliver. I mean, if you look at the first public dissemination of the Afrobarometer results, round 9, that was done by CDD Ghana last week, you do see that the political landscape is really challenging and tough for them as they think of 2024 and breaking the 8. But at the same time, 2 years is a really long time in politics. Sometimes even 1 day is a really long time in politics. And so I think they face a very difficult political terrain, but they've elected leaders that I think sometimes injecting new blood, fresh faces, does help with dealing with some of those challenges. I don't know too much of Mr. Stephen Ntim, who's been elected chairman, but I did follow the general secretary race very closely because a friend of mine who was on Mr. JFK's team was, so I regularly followed all her statuses and things like that as she said about the campaign. And I think one of the things that I picked on was that he seems to be someone who is extremely good at organizing at the very basic level, right? He reminds me of former President Obama, where it's like you win the voter one person at a time, one constituency at a time, one polling station at a time. And it looks like he really traveled far and wide, met the delegates where they are, and seemed to have that organizing capacity, which I think is very critical in any election. Door-to-door mobilizing and trying to meet the voters at their pinch points to convince them as to why this is the course of action they need to take when they get a chance to vote. But it's 2 years. They are yet to pick a flag bearer. We are yet to see the NDC's flag bearer. We are yet to see what other issues would emerge between now and 2024. But at least from where I sit now, I do know that this new crop of faces and voices of the party as elected on Saturday do have quite a Herculean task in this attempt to break the 8.
Okay, I just want us to conduct this exercise very quickly so we can move on. The bit about money, I just want us to go back to that, moneycracy. Stephen Asamoah paints a certain picture. He says, if we're not careful, right from the internal levels of these big parties, we're going to have someone who could be a money launderer, a narcotics dealer who could take over the party, because guess what? That person could bankroll this or that person into a key position, who knows, even up to the point of the flag bearer. And that could basically mean that we sell our democracy, our governance system, to some person who wouldn't even know is pulling the strings in the background. I'm looking at our constitution and what it says about political party funding, the little that it says, because there's not enough in there from where we sit. Then there are the other dimensions to take stock of. How can we bring an end to this? Is it widening the net of those who vote, aka the delegates, so that maybe it is all card-bearing members of a party? That would be difficult for you to bribe, or something of the sort. What do we do from where you sit? Because the EIU has spoken about it, the Westminster Group, the CDD has had its own research on this. Where do we go from here? This question is for both of you, but I'll stay with you, Dr. Osai-Kwapong, for your take.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, the role of money in politics, if unchecked, can always become a threat, right? We do hear all these stories about, people invest in elections, and therefore when elections are over, they seek their payback. They seek to sort of enjoy their investments, and that is what fuels corruption. Whenever there are conversations about corruption, political party financing and campaign financing comes up. So I think we can do two things. On the rules side, I mean, and there are very clear rules about who can or cannot donate to a political party. There are also rules about how political parties need to submit audited accounts when they are submitting their candidate, every year. And I think even when they are submitting their nominated candidates for either parliament or the presidency to the EC during an election year, they are supposed to add their audited accounts to it. These audited accounts, I think, the EC should have a mechanism for verifying these audited accounts. I look forward to a day where a major political party refuses to abide by this rule, and an EC is strong enough to say you've been disqualified on the basis of that. Because at this point, I don't think anyone really takes very seriously that constitutional and legal requirements that you must transparently disclose who is financing the party by how much. But I think we need rules around limits, who can contribute, how much, things like that. And then the reporting of it has to be done in a very transparent way. I live in a country where I can literally go to the Federal Electoral Commission and see who is donating to which candidate, especially for major groups and major individuals. You can see how much a candidate is raising. So that's one. I also share I have a friend who years ago lost a party primary. And when he shared his experience with me, I said to myself, well, maybe I am ready to support open party primaries, right? So everybody who is a card-bearing member of the party gets to vote in the party election. So let's say if a party is having regional elections in that region, if you're a registered member of the party, you can vote. And I made the similar argument that you're making, which is it is much more difficult to buy an entire region, an entire constituency, all party voters, than it is to quote unquote influence and buy delegates with money. But I had a conversation with another friend yesterday on the same subject, and her counter-argument or her point to me to think about, though, was that if you're going to have open primaries or these open type elections where card-carrying members can vote, you have to be very careful where you don't have cross-party individuals trying to influence the election, right? You need to have mechanisms in place where you're making sure that someone who is, everyone is really a party member. I mean, in the US, we sometimes run into that. There are states that have open primaries. You don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican to vote in a party's primary. And there's always conversations about, well, if Democrats prefer a weaker Republican candidate in that open primary, Democrats show up and go and vote because you don't need to be registered with either party. But I will support one tougher legal, a legal framework on how we raise and spend money during elections. I would support stronger enforcement of already existing legislation. I will support open primaries for these parties to make it structurally more difficult to influence the voter. And then if we can find a way to do this, I would actually support public financing of political parties. I know it does come up often, and sometimes when our parties are in power, they bark against the idea. Sometimes when they are in the opposition, they seem to like the idea. But I think if we can find a way to design a good public financing of political parties, I will support that as well.
I know that Dr. Kwesi Amakye-Boateng has joined the conversation. A very good morning to you, Doc. Do we have Dr. Amakye-Boateng?
Yeah, I said good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. I'll be coming to you shortly, but since we've started on this tangent, let me just go to quickly to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Your quick take on that as well. I did mention that after Dr. Osai Kwapong, I would come to you on political party funding and where we're headed in terms of our democracy turned into a moneycracy.
Yes, it is unfortunate that we are in that, arena, but partly must be blamed on the political elites of the various political parties. Why am I saying that? They have encouraged this. They know it's wrong, but because it serves their political interests, they are not ready to do something meaningful about that. When they are in government, there is a different tone or a different approach to the issue. Yes, they want to condemn when they are in opposition. They want to condemn the practice, but they themselves eventually get in power. They are not ready to do justice to that. So that takes us to a level that we need to sit down as a people to look at political party finance, as my colleague Dr. Osai has said. We need to look at it carefully and then see what works for us. The US and other countries have very beautiful experiences that we can also borrow from. Take for the US, for instance, there are thresholds that if you are an individual and you want to donate money to a party, that you cannot cross. Once you cross, you are going to jail. And if we are a group too, there is a limit to which you can pay in terms of your contribution. And above all,
should we implement that here? And secondly, we don't even appear to have the mechanisms of checking these.
Yes, but if we want to do it, we can find a way of doing it. When we now have a national card and all that, these are things that can facilitate the process so that we can have the other bit of the US, which I love so much, is the reporting system, where those who fund political parties have their names published, where they work and all that, so that after you have, supported a party financially, you go for a contract and then you are executing the project, then they can know that, yes, this is where you are coming from and all that. So the reporting system is something we have to look at. And also, it is true that when you have a bigger electoral college, it helps. But that one, yes, people always find means of going around it. We saw last election MPP primaries where people were, giving bicycles, a lot of resources and all that. The anti-corruption laws and the enforcement must be held in high esteem so that those who cross the line we deal with them. So the point is that we need strict enforcement of the rules of the game. Once we are able to do that, but the difficulty we have here is that when you have a government whose some of their members, as they cross the line, then the government become incapable of dealing with them, dealing with their own, and that is the difficult aspect of it. But now that we have the OSP, we believe that some of these matters, the OSP should be bold enough to take them on and then handle. Yes, so the OSP must be sharp on these things so that when we are going for elections, we can look at it. But first and foremost, we need to sit as a body or as a people to see how we fund political parties.
Right.
Once we are able to do this, the last bit of it is that the continuous education about the need for voters to know that money will not change your fortunes when you are dealing with electoral campaign and electoral issues. It is the manifesto issues that they churn out that when you look at them, if they resonate with you and you think they are in tune with your dreams and aspirations, these are the things we go for, and that we expect in the nationals, the civil NCC to be up and doing with their game, so that this message will be drummed to the ears of everybody and it become part and parcel of that. Once we do that, I think we'll be making a headway. Other than that, and of course, before I end, the Electoral Commission also must be bold to implement the rule regarding audited accounts that are given to Electoral Commission by the political parties. Over the years, when you ask, the EC has a very simple answer that parties are growing and then they need time and all that. But you see, even if we can have two political parties existing in this country and they will go along with the rules of the game, why not? After all, democracy hinges on rule of law, and nobody should be above the rules. And once we shy away with the rules of the game, we are going to have such difficulties all the time. We'll come back, talk about it, and after election, we'll go to sleep. And only to come for the next election, this thing, then albatross around our necks. It's time that we work on this thing head on.
Interesting points you make. Let me bring in Dr. Kwesi Amakye-Boateng. Thank you for joining the conversation. The MPP clearly is at the crossroads, and they accepted that in even the mantra, the theme for this conference, holding together, working together. If you look at the leaders they've elected at this past conference, is this the antidote to breaking the 8, do you think?
Also, say good morning to your viewers. It's an interesting thing whether the leaders elected are going to be such an antidote. They are not the political executives of the country. They are not going to be in the position to implement, even formulate and implement any policy. What are they able to do? These people who have come to meet established powers in the system, the president, the vice president, and the various ministers of state, already established. They can hardly be any such antidote. I don't think so.
Hello, Doc?
Yes. Yeah, I was saying that they can hardly be any such antidote. They have just come into office and they are yet even to appreciate the powers that their own party's constitution has vested in them. So initially, they're going to take this before they can usher themselves properly into office. And I'm at a loss as to see how they will be able to even, if you like, influence major issues going on in government. I don't think they have what it takes to fill in the gap which has been created.
Wow. So you say you don't think that they have what it takes to fill in the gap that has been created. And of course, we can also talk about their measured influence. After all, they are not the leadership of the country. They are the leadership of the party, but not of the country generally. We have an executive. But interesting here, because you talk about the fact that, they are now coming into office and we should maybe be measured in our expectations. Is that to say then that from where you sit, maybe the change of guard with someone like John Bwedu falling for JFK, Justin Frimpong-Kodua, is not going to bode well for the party? We know for the chairmanship position, it was anyone's game. But when you look at these two crucial positions, the chairman, Stephen Ayesu Ntim, winning 5th time lucky, and then Justin Frimpong Kodua. These two are crucial elements. Are you saying that with those two positions, John Boadu, for example, would you feel he should have been retained for the party? And now that there's a change, what would it mean going forward?
That's far from that. That's not what I'm suggesting. Actually, what I'm saying is that the politics in the party, the way they engage the executive, and if you like, the officers of the political executive, the politics is such that the party has not had significant influence. And if I should bring in this issue, the selection of Freddie Play as the party chair, I think it was intentional, so that the party's influence on the government will be virtually insignificant, and it has been so. If John Boadu had been a hard-working person, someone who could really affect issues in government, I think Kenyans would have appreciated that long ago. As things are today, I've not come by any study, measuring the legitimacy of the government today. But looking at society responses, you could see that, one can easily suggest that it's at a very low level, the legitimacy of the government. Did the party play any role in a way yet by doing nothing or by, not being able to influence issues significantly? But the whole thing is that were they ready to influence anything? And they're part of the politics, that support the status quo. So there are two issues there. One, the readiness of the people in the party to, if you like, decide to address themselves to the public good and so become a check on the government. That is the first thing. And then two, even if they were ready, their preparedness to do so. So all these issues to me are such that irrespective of who got elected into the party's offices, we won't see real change. I think in society rather that can bring pressure to bear on the government, and also politicians have always been afraid of the next election. And these are to me major variables that are likely to affect government business going forward from now.
Interesting points you make. Irrespective of who has been elected, we're not going to see major changes. But let's talk about whether this unites or disunites the party, whether this unites or splits the party even further, the new crop of executive. I'm tying that into what Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, Member of Parliament for Asin Central, has been saying. You would note that ahead of the election, we had heard of thoughts that, all the regional ministers were in favor of John Boadu, the General Secretary. Well, you can see from the election results that obviously things did not go his way. All the regional chairmen of the party. And Kennedy Ohene Ejapong had cause to say this at the Accra Sports Stadium. I'm quoting him. Wontumi should cool down. He should cool down because he doesn't own this political party. Yes, because the way he was behaving and whipping all chairmen to raise their hands reluctantly, all of them have been embarrassed. If it were somewhere, all the chairmen would have resigned. I've learned my lesson that the disunity in the party stems from the fact that leaders in the party openly support so this time. I said to get unity in the party. That's a quote there. With those happenings, because it's obvious that the chairman of the Ashanti regional wing of the MPP was in support. At least we had seen them as bedfellows. He was there when John Boadu launched his campaign to be retained as General Secretary. With all that has happened, does it further disunite the party or bring the party closer?
This issue of this unity in the party to me revolves around the desire of some people in the party to capture their own party and have their own way, have their own officers manning various segments of the party structure. So it's not a very simple thing of expressing a preference for one candidate or the other during elections and after the elections, allowing them to, exercise their best judgment as officers of the party. But it is a different thing, to the best of my understanding, a desire to capture and control the party. So the disunity is not going away today. Because this control thing is also closely, deeply related to the amassing of wealth, especially now that the party is in government. And this, if this is the interest of a group of people already holding key positions in the party, in government, they are not going to let these things go away. They are not going to let these things go away. You mentioned Kennedy Japan, a party of the stature of the MPP. And if indeed they appreciate the fact that Ashanti region gives them their, the larger vote, then you want to believe that they will want a different chairman than Chairman. Definitely. And people in Kumasi are really surprised that the party produced the same one to me. And people are openly, declaring that they are disappointed voting for the MPP. It came from Kumasi magazine. There's a chance, a video, making the rounds on social media. And so the interest has not gone away. The divisions in the party are going to deepen. Moving forward to get a flag bearer. The divisions in the party are going to deepen. Because as it is now, the party is ready to rein in the supporters of particular candidates. They allow the supporters of other candidates to have a field day. So the disunity is not going away any moment from now. It's deeply ingrained in the interest of particular individuals who are really powerful people in the party now.
Dr. Kwapong, same question to you, both you and Dr. Asa Asante. Very briefly on that one, because I want us to move on and also talk about some of the dynamics in terms of people like Titus Glover and the performance, yet not being able to scale the hurdle. So Dr. Kwapong, does this further these dynamics I just painted, Kennedy Japan and what he says and what we know? The regional chairman standing in and saying, yes, we are for John Boadu, maybe under the influence of Chairman Wontumi. But now things have not gone their way. What does this mean?
Well, you tend to see that in elections, right?
In fact, just to add, it just came to mind. We also saw, and he was seated just 2 rows behind the president, Gabi Ochredako. We all know how influential we hear he is within establishment. And he had also posted, before the election proper had started, that he envisaged certain people based on what they had said to win. And guess what? He went for John Boadu. Precisely.
Right? So for me, the bigger issue, I understand the concerns of how, being in a regional party chairman position or some other influential position, that if you don't play neutral, the possible consequences of that for disunity. But it's something you would always see in an election where, some people would stick their necks out for particular candidates. For me, I always say that the bigger issue is when all is said and done, right? After we've intensely campaigned against each other in this intra-party democracy and, preferred a John Boadu to a Mr. JFK, when all is said and done, when the election is over, how do we manage post-election grievances, should any emerge? So, for example, those who were rudely and firmly behind Mr. John Boadu, how do they process the loss vis-a-vis the bigger interest of the party? If you can find a way to properly manage that, I don't see this further dividing the party. And for me, the biggest lessons for this in terms of how they do that is for them to go back to the 2020 primaries, because I believe that part of what caused a lot of the seats they lost in the 2020 parliamentary election was how poorly post-primary grievances were managed. You need to make sure that the losing candidate walks away feeling like they are still a member of the family, a member of the party. You want to make sure that ultimately everybody is still guided by the party's interest, even as they wrestle with their own position or lack thereof within the party structure. So for me, that's what I will be looking at: how they manage the post-election grievances, should any emerge. Because for me, that would be very critical for the unity of the party going forward.
Right. To you, Dr. Asante, it's interesting because even as we talk about all of these things, and His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has come out to congratulate the new executive members of the party. But guess what? The same person who is now chairman of the party, Stephen Ayesu Ntim, previously, the same Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had said about him, I can't work with him. I cannot work with him. Now he is chairman of the party. What does that do for the party?
Yes, these are problems of political communication, that once you are in a party, you must be able to develop a very solid political communication strategy and platforms where people are educated on how to communicate politically without, offending people's sensibilities and all that.
Dr. Asante, my sincere apologies. I have to do this. Pardon me for that. We have Titus Glover on the line. He joins us for a conversation. Of course, he was in a keen contest with Henry Nana Boakye for that particular slot, the organizer slot of the party. Mr. Glover, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
My name is Titus Glover, not Glover.
Mr. Titus Glover, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, bro.
My apologies for that. Okay.
Yeah, I love my name.
I know you love your name. I know you love your name. All right, so let's look at the national organizer race. We have Henry Nana Boakye pipping you, so to speak, but you had quite an impact. I spoke to the analysts and all of that. People felt surprised that you had done so well. In fact, out of the 16 regions, you took about 15 of them. Yet you did not win. How do you feel about that?
I feel encouraged. I am satisfied with the work that I did, but the ultimate is that I didn't win. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the delegates who had faith and believe in me that I should have been the national organizer. But I think that as long as they have spoken, it is for all of us to rally behind the party, work so hard, with the aim, so that we can continue to govern this country. So for me, I was not making noise. I was quite doing the submarine type of campaign, moving around the length and breadth of this country, telling my message and hope to them. And they believe in me. So that was all the magic, my brother. That was all the magic.
You lost by about some 600 votes, but the point to be made is that a lot of analysts said they didn't expect you to do so well. Yet you did. What was your secret?
Seriously, I told you, it's about my campaign, the submarine campaign that I do. The message was so powerful, and the strategy I did bring on board for the 2024 elections as an organizer. That did the trick, and I think that these are some of the areas that we need to look at the political part. And seriously, I think that there's more that needs to be done. There's more that needs to be done. But Akufo-Addo has done so well, but our communication is not going that well. As I move around the countryside, a lot of things that the party rank and file are not even known. So while I'm doing my campaign, I put across some of the things that you have done to them, so that we have faith and believe in our party and our government. So we came to the hope to vote for me, but unfortunately, that was quite unfortunate. But I'm fine.
And I'm glad you're saying you're fine. A lot of you have, congratulated your winning candidates on all of that, which is a fantastic thing. But let me ask you, on the back of this performance, whatever happens in 2024, on the back of how well you fared, is it a slot you would go for again, likely?
It it is early yet.
It is what?
I just come out of election. Just Saturday, today is Monday. I just need to recall it to my shell and do some self-reflection.
Mr. Titus Glover, I'm losing you a little. So when I asked the question, did you say it was something you would contemplate? I didn't quite get it.
Ask the question again.
So I was asking, on the back of this solid performance that you put up, is it likely that you would give yourself another try? After all, we've seen Stephen Ayesu in team 5 times, and now he's got it.
Bro, you can't say that I'm a politician. I'm a politician. The years ahead of us are not. So we'll be that time, pray and pray for grace. So long as I'm alive and any opportunity that comes my way, I'll discuss with my team and my family. And why not? I'll still go for gold. So long as I'm alive. I'll give it a try another time.
Okay. You will try another time. Right. Two quick questions. So those that have been elected by the party, we're faced with difficult times. Are these the people that can break the 8, do you think? And secondly, looking at the fact that you won all these regions, but yet owing to maybe the vote of the Ashanti region, you could not get the nod for the national organizer slot. Do you think it is high time we had reform in our country, in the political parties themselves, and maybe at the national level? Because we've seen in this country where someone wins about 6 regions, 7 regions, 8 regions, the person doesn't become president. Someone wins 2 regions, becomes president. We saw that play out in your instance at the party level. What is your reaction to these two? First of all, is this the crop of leaders to help your party really break the 8? Can it be done? And secondly, this bit about electoral reform.
This is the decision of delegates who have spoken. It is not different from general elections where the electors are voted to determine who should lead the country, vis-a-vis who should lead our party. It means that there's something that needs to do that is not do well. Like from your line of question, I've won several regions, and unfortunately I've missed Ashanti 1 or 2. It means that there should be something that you have done that I did not do. And it's a big lesson for me. So therefore, we believe that universal adult suffrage, the simple majority that wins that determines the president or the leader of a party, we're good to go. They have won. We believe that we support all the leaders who have taken up positions in our party. It doesn't go and work. So for me, I have no problem. So long as delegates are voted, and these are leaders, it's their duty to respect and cooperate and support them for them to win. So I'm fine. I will just sit back, do some self-introspection, and look at the way forward as to how I can help the party. Yeah, that's it.
Your own former colleague, Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ejapong, has chastised Chairman Wood to me, especially for supposedly whipping other chairmen of your party across the regions to all push for John Bwedu. Well, John Bwedu did not make it. JFK did. What does this mean for the unity of the party or disunity of the party moving forward? Because we know intra-party, people had their own favorites and all of that. But this very obvious way of putting it out, is it going to inure to the benefit of the party?
It didn't happen too on the ground. A lot of my own FP colleagues work with it and all that, but I have no problem. That is politics. So if Kennedy has chastised Chairman Wood to me for what he has done, I think that some of the things that we need to avoid. Even if you want to campaign against somebody, we should be on the quiet. But to openly show it sort of brings some sort of few problems between aspirants.
Did you say it was a problem? Did you say that is a problem?
What I'm saying is everybody has a choice to support whoever she wants. So that is their choice that they want to do, and they've done it. So let's leave these things behind us and move ahead as one party. and who work to receive power again.
All right. Just to wrap with you, first off, what do you make of the two people who are going to be spearheading the arrowheads for the MPP as far as the party is concerned ahead of election 2024? Stephen Ayesu Ntim, fifth time lucky, and Justin Frimpong Kodua. What do you think of them in terms of their capacity? And secondly, what next for Titus Glover? What is the way forward for you?
Akakpo, what I can say is that they have won. Delegates believe that they are the right people to do that party for now. Let me also take this opportunity to compliment my main competitor, Henry Nanabuachi. He underrated me, but now you can see that before. I've tried several to counter it before, but I've been unsuccessful. Anytime I try it, his line is busy. So let me use the video to counter it as well. We have won. Our duty is to support all of them so that they can perform and let's win power. I don't have the problem. So let us avoid any issues or whether they have the capacity, they have the competence. We have won. Delegates believe that they are the right people to lead our party. So that is what the delegates support. If there are few weaknesses all over here and there, it's our duty to correct all those weaknesses and strengthen them, support them, and let them go and deliver.
All right. In terms of what next for you?
Myself?
Yes.
I just come out of election, my brother. I need to do some self-reflection. But as a global fighter, I'm a fighter. I will seize the opportunity when it comes. But for now, I need to cool off. I said two things. My family, my team, and we'll see the way forward. But as a global effect, global.
Mr. Titus Glover.
I'm not worried. I'm not prepared. But I'm fine.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining the conversation. And we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
All right. And that is Daniel Titus Glover, former member of parliament for Tema East there. He says Titus Glover is a fighter. I will come back, but now I'm just going to cool off. And he also sees the opportunity. He said that he had tried reaching Henry Nanabuachi without success. So live on television, he was congratulating him and saying that these are the people that the delegates have voted for, and they will carry the party into 2024 anyway. Let me come to you now, Dr. Asa Asante. I had to interject because we didn't have Mr. Titus Glover for long. You were making a point about the unity or otherwise of the MPP.
Yes. If you look at it, a number of issues come to mind. One, you can see that there's a breakdown of institution. What am I talking about? Rules, regulation regarding or regulating the conduct of people within the party have broken down. Why is it that we have rules within the party? When to campaign, what to do, all these things are prescribed. And people are doing things contrary to what we have. And you ask yourself, do we have a sanctioning regime? It appears to me that there is none. Even though there is, it tells you that enforcement is weak within it. And it boils down to the fact that all the political elite, or let me say some of them, they have, or those who matter within the party, have picked terms with some people within the party. And then it has become a free-for-all type of business within the party. It doesn't bode well for a party which want to organize itself and break the eight. I think they have to look at it and look at it again. We need also the Council of State to be up and doing and call them to order. Okay. We don't get that. And for me, it's a worrying situation. If this thing continues, I'm afraid it's going to deepen the crisis within the party. Okay. And that also does not work well when they are out there to campaign nationally for vote for their flag bearer.
Let me bring in now, he's been gracious enough to join the conversation, Abdul Aziz Haruna Futa. He is the Nasara coordinator. He got the nod eventually, getting the nod from the US conference as well when they voted. Thank you for joining the conversation, sir.
Thank you. Welcome.
How do you feel?
I feel very great and happy.
You feel great and happy?
Of course.
Do you think your hard work has paid off?
Of course. But the finally will be when we break the 8, the 2024 election.
Is it your hard work? I mean, yes, definitely hard work. But what do you feel about monetary influence? It's been going on, and your own national chairmanship contender, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, Asabi, made mention of the fact that a lot of that was going on. Did you have to use any money anywhere to get your slot?
No, I did not use money anywhere, and I didn't know anybody who used money to get the nod.
Not even TNT, like Asabi says he gave out?
All right, TNT, like 20 Ghana cedis for TNT, I don't think it should be a problem.
So you gave TNT?
That is when I went for my campaign in the various regions. Because I invite them from their villages to the capital. So by all means, I have to give a TNT, like the maximum is 20 Ghana each.
20 Ghana? You're inviting people from up north and other places, and you're giving them TNT of 20 cedis?
Not in Accra, because when I get to the north.
Oh, right.
That's what I'm saying. When I get to the north, I invite them from their various homes. And I have to see them all. Just like if I invite you, if your parent invites you to your village and have a conversation with you, if you are going, at least there should be a token for you to buy an ice cream in the way to go back home.
The Nasara coordinator's position is one that is crucial to the party as well. And you have got the nod. What is the agenda for Abdulaziz Futa, having won this position?
Thank you very much. My agenda is to break the 8 to win the election for the MPP. I've done a lot of jobs after the 2020 elections. I've learned a lot of lessons. I've seen where the loopholes come from. So myself and my team, we are working hard and discovered the Zongo polling stations. That is exactly where we are going to work with. And I believe that NDC cannot come to power without the Zongo votes. And Zongo has been a weakened side for MPP, and His Excellency the President has done a lot for the Zongo community through the Zongo and the Zongo Development Fund. So we are going to work on it and make sure that we'll increase our votes in the Zongo community for whoever that is going to lead the party in the future.
Well, you talk about the party in the future, but having served in that position, what have you achieved?
Right? Come again, please.
So you say you talk about the party in the future, but I'm saying having served in that capacity already, what would you say you have achieved?
I've achieved a lot. I've achieved a lot of votes for His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I've achieved for him to maintain, to beat his opponent, Mr. Mahama, with 500 and something thousand votes for the first time in the history of Ghana. That is my biggest achievement.
Now that, we have the economic turmoil in the country, especially as you're also tied to the Zango communities and your work, what would you be doing? The economy is at play. The IMF is negotiating with us. We have a whole lot to deal with as a country. How are you going to influence the Zango community that you speak of? And what can we expect moving forward?
Thank you. I have a lot to explain to the Zango community. One, our party is the best alternative for the Zongo community and Ghana as well. But we don't think NDC can do it because NDC, they were in IMF with no crisis. We live in Ghana for more than 4 or 5 years without a light. Another NDC, they couldn't pay the teachers' training allowance. They couldn't pay the nation's training allowance. They couldn't take care of the economy. But for us, the economy, we inherited an economy under the IMF. And inshallah, the economy is doing well until this virus visits us. And we don't have any option apart from the virus. You can see the Korea War. So I have a lot to discuss with my Zongo community for them to understand and support our party to break the 8.
Let me ask you, as we gear up to wrap the conversation, JFK won the General Secretaryship slot. Are you happy about that?
I'm happy for our party, of course. It's a former youth organizer in Ashanti region, a CEO of YEA, and now the General Secretary of our party, of course, because definitely he's going to be our boss and we are going to work together. Nobody has any interest. The interest is one. The interest is MPP, and for MPP to break the 8.
What can we expect of you moving forward in just some 20 seconds?
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to invite all my competitors, those that compete with me. I'm going to invite them to have a lunch meeting for us to discuss the way forward of our great party, because we need unity to break the 8. Second, start campaigning to unite the entire party. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for joining the conversation, Abdul Aziz Haruna Futa, the National Nasara Coordinator for the NPP, emergent victor in that category. I'll be wrapping the conversation with my guests, but as I do so, as I address these issues with you, I would like us to start the wrap-up by looking at what Ken Ofori-Atta, Finance Minister, Minister for Finance and Economic Planning of the NPP, said when he was asked about resigning. He said he wouldn't, and he creates the analogy of a father abandoning a parent, saying that he is not going to resign. Under no circumstances will he resign. I'll start from there before we get into what our expectations can be of the new crop of executive members. Dr. Osai Kwapong, I'll give you the first bite.
Well, he serves at the pleasure of the president. The president hasn't given any indication that
he serves at the pleasure of the president, but the same president has circumvented what the finance minister was saying. We are a proud people and we will not go the way of the IMF. Obviously, on that tangent, there is a divergence. Mr. President says, you know what, I'm not going to stick to what you're saying. Let's go to the IMF. That's not what the finance minister was saying. So while he serves at the pleasure of the president, it is clear there is disagreement on that front.
Right, but if you also put it in the broader context of our governance culture, resignations is something that appears to be very rare, right? I mean, in other jurisdictions, I can see, in other jurisdictions, I can see a finance minister tending in his or her resignation over some of these things, some of these policy issues, some of these turnarounds, some of these policy inconsistencies. But within the governance political culture of Ghana, I don't see that. I mean, unless it's something, quote unquote, very egregious, probably even illegal, that you may see that, or the appointing authority makes the bold move and says, thanks for your service, but I need to inject some new blood in there. So I'm not surprised that was his response, which was, I have no indication, or I have no intention to resign. And again, the president also, who is the appointing authority, hasn't given any indication that he's breaking with his finance minister. So that's, I guess, he's going to be around for another 2 years.
Dr. Amache Boateng. All right, let me bring in Dr. Asai Asante then.
Yes. Yes, I heard the finance minister talk about that. But what we must know is that we put people in position to come and perform. Mm-hmm. If you don't perform to expectation, we expect that honorably you can put down your seats and then take a new role somewhere. But if that is not the case, well, we move on, because you see, governance is nothing but what? A referendum of your work. And that the appointing authority must be aware of this, which I know that they are not oblivious of this. Once you continue to have poor performance, it undermines the fortunes of the party. So this one, nobody is going to advise them. If they think that the man is good to go, we don't have a problem. All that the people of this country want is that they must deliver the public goods. That's all.
All right, let's consider these two issues as we wrap the conversation. Even as we've had the MPP's delegates conference, on the back of that, we saw quite a number of issues raised. We had Peter Otokuno famously or infamously go there and say things are so hard economically that maybe it's only the cocoa season of those delegates who have come there, but that he was hoisting kenke and talking about the price and everything. But tied to that, former President Mahama has been speaking, and he also talks about, one, the syndicated loan of 1 billion, which we are going for. And he says it is not good for us to go for that loan in these times, especially in respect of the unfavorable terms and conditions applied. Then he talks again about the use of the Ghana card as the sole reference point for any re-registration when it comes to our electoral process. Gentlemen, those two awaiting your reflection. I'll come to Dr. Akakpo.
So on the first issue of the 1 billion syndicated loan, yes, I mean, I understand the former president's concern because of how unfavorable the current conditions are and how much it's going to cost the government to borrow that. But at the same time, we also have a government that is facing some serious liquidity challenges, right? Revenue generation, that to the point where its fiscal challenges is one of the reasons that is leading it to seek a bailout from the IMF. So the government is in a bit of a catch-20, a catch-22 situation. If they don't, let's say if Parliament is able to block that and not approve that, I'm just wondering what the alternative then is for government in terms of the fiscal situation it finds itself in. If it can raise the money from somewhere else, or if there's some stopgap measure that allows it to buy some time between now and when it's able to finalize an IMF bailout package and get the first tranche of injection into the economy, then that would be good. But other than that, when you are in very dire situations, sometimes there's also a high price you end up paying for some of the choices that you've made. And this is one of those clear examples that we find ourselves in. On the question of the re-registration of voters and the use of the Ghana card as the sole form of identification, again, I don't know why every cycle of registration of voters, we get into these contentions over what becomes the acceptable form of identification to show that you are a Ghanaian and therefore eligible to register to vote in an election. I know that the goal of this government, particularly as articulated by the vice president, is to get the country to a point where the Ghana national card becomes the key form of identification that ties us into all kinds of systems in the country. There's merits to that, but we are not there yet. So between now and when we get there, administratively, can the decision be made that besides the Ghana card, that there are other ways in which one can demonstrate their eligibility as a voter and be made to vote? My concern is that once these things become contentious, then we bring in the courts. And I get worried that things that we can resolve administratively always end up becoming legal contestations that have to be resolved by the court. But for me, I know the goal of the Ghana card. We are not there yet. Between now and when we get there, I think that it should be acceptable that besides the Ghana card, we can have one or two other forms of identifications that the Electoral Commission can find acceptable. And these are things that you can find an amicable way of working it out with the political parties without generating what I consider to be sometimes unnecessary tensions and disagreements over some of these basic things that we have to do to get our electoral system in order as we prepare for an election.
All right. Do hold right there for me. Before I bring in Dr. Asah-Asante on that same point, let me bring in Krobi Asante, with your permission, Dr. Asah-Asante. Krobi Asante is a spokesperson for Team JFK. Mr. Asante, a very good morning to you. Hello, Mr. Asante.
Yeah, good morning to you, my brother.
And I think congratulations are in order. Congratulations on your success.
Oh, thank you so much. I also personally would like to extend our appreciation to you, friends in the media, for the kind of support you give us throughout the context.
How sure were you of this success, and what made you so sure?
Yeah, we're sure because when we started with our agenda, we presented our message of hope to the delegates. We visited almost every constituency, and we testified to the fact that our delegates actually bought into our message. And one thing was very clear. Almost every constituency we visited, all the constituency executives were speaking one language. They were speaking the same challenges. So, it became very obvious that, indeed, the party executives really were calling for change. And we were not only interested in highlighting the challenges, but our manifesto also presented to them measures that we put in place together or collectively when giving them note and addressing some of the challenges that have been raised. And I'm sure that did them for us.
There were allegations of, vote buying, Stephen Asamoah Boateng and all of that, peddling some of these. And then we also had the situation with the 291 TESCON members who were not allowed to vote. Yes, your candidate still emerged with about a 300-point gap. But some feel there were some underhand issues, machinations. What can you share with us?
On the issue of people sharing money, I'm not sure so far I've come across any such allegations.
People were giving TNT. That is contrary to what your party stipulates.
I've not come across any such reportage regarding my candidate, so I wouldn't want to comment on that.
So JFK did not give any TNT to anybody?
I am saying that so far, as a spokesperson, I have not come across any such report indicting him as to whether he gives some money out or not. But that is not what is important at this point. You also mentioned that TESCON people were denying their voting rights. In fact, it was a major source of worry for all of us.
It was the what? I missed that, unfortunately. You say it was what?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I said that. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I said that for TESCON people to be to be denied their voting right, it was some kind of worry for almost every aspirant because it came as a shock to us. You understand? Because all along we were with the view that every eligible voter will be given the opportunity to vote. Only for us to be informed that there was an injunction on the TESCON album, and for that matter, TESCON people were not voting. Trust me, if TESCON people would have voted, we would have given them a bigger margin than what we witnessed on Saturday. Because
you're suggesting that if TESCON had voted, your candidate would have won with a bigger margin.
The margin would have been different from the 300 votes margin that we got. Trust me, we would have given them almost 500 votes difference. Because we're getting about 90% of the TESCON votes, and we're so sure of that.
So do you think this was someone trying to find a way of twisting the arm of TESCON members by this late injunction? Because if you look at the entire situation, when the injunction came, the TESCON members were already at the Accra Sports Stadium. Do you feel there was some move to deny them their vote?
What happened with respect to the TESCON situation was quite unfortunate, because you know the TESCON branch happens to be the International Wings Party. These people sacrifices a lot for the party. So I was with the view that at this point in time, where they are also supposed to have a feel that they are part of the party's electoral processes, and suddenly they were supposed to, they were informed that they cannot be voting. But a lot of them were frustrated, and I was not surprised that at the point in time they were active. In fact, even as aspirants, as stakeholders in the election, we were not happy with the decision. But there was nothing that we could do at that material moment. But we were so sure that even without the TESCON people voting, we were still going to win the elections. And of course, we won the election.
My final bit to you, before I ask what the plan is for Team JFK moving forward, what has the interactivity been like, the discourse between John Boadu and Justin Frimpong Kodia post?
Talking about what? Pardon me?
So I'm saying, what has the interaction been like between John Boadu and JFK after the elections?
Oh, it's been so wonderful. Yesterday, Lawyer Justin Frimpong Kodia, the General Secretary of the MPP, placed a call on his senior brother, Mr. John Boadu. And they had positive engagement.
Oh, so it wasn't John Boadu calling to congratulate JFK. It was JFK who called John Boadu.
Yeah, it was Justin Frimpong Kodia who did the call yesterday. And Mr. John Boadu also responded positively. In fact, he will be continuing with the calls. He will be placing calls on almost every aspirant who was part of the electoral process. The idea is that Lawyer Kodia feels that at a point, we have reached a point where we need to unite the parties for us to be able to push the agenda 2024. He's the General Secretary today, but he and his supporters alone cannot guarantee us victory in 2024. We need the support of everybody. In fact, yesterday there was a unity party that was organized by Chamaun to me at Underbridge, and he presented the same message of unity there, that is urging all his supporters to put behind us our differences and see to it that the agenda that is ahead of us is so big, and without unity, there's no way we'll be able to break the aid. So at this point, if you are a follower of JFK, if you believe in JFK's vision, you need to understand that the victory for JFK last Saturday is the victory for the party. And being the victory for the party, what it means is that we need to come together as people with a common interest and agenda so that together we can make breaking the aid possible.
All right, so to wrap the conversation, I'm sure as a team and as the General Secretary-elect, you want to hit the ground running. What is the plan? Are you going to be learning some lessons from John Boadu, for example? Is it part of the plan for JFK to sit at the feet of John Boadu to learn?
Yes, there are so much lessons we've learned. And one key one that I would love to highlight on is the General Secretary making himself accessible to the party people. In fact, when we were doing the campaign, this was the major concern for almost every party delegate. The party executives were almost every constituency they visited. One of their key concerns was that the General Secretary's office, the General Secretary himself was not accessible to them, and that they wouldn't want to have another General Secretary who will come and follow the same path.
So JFK will be more accessible?
He will be more accessible. He's going to operate from the party head office. And this one, I want to place emphasis on that. Lawyer Justin Frimpong Kodia, as the General Secretary for the New Patriotic Party, will be working from the head office.
Thank you very much. Right. Mr. Kwame Asante is spokesperson for Team JFK, Justin Frimpong Kodia, who won the General Secretaryship slot. Thank you so much for joining. Dr. Asante, you have the final word on those two issues. Hello, Doc. Okay, it doesn't appear we have Dr. Asante. Do we have Dr. Akakpo?
Can you hear me? No?
Dr. Asante, I was saying that, I went to Dr. Akakpo on 2 points. Okay. So you have the final bit.
Yes, about the loan. It is true that we are in difficult times. There's no doubt about that. But what I urge the government to do is to reflect on this thing very well so that you don't compound already difficult situation we have ourselves in terms of the loan that we have acquired over the years. It's becoming a difficult thing to manage. But I think when they're able to put their house in order, they'll be able to find a way out because they need resources to run the affairs of the state. We can't take that thing out. So if they do the balance sheet very well, they'll be able to know what to do and then to save this economy. The issue of the national card is an important one in the sense that, look, we want as many people as possible to be able to be use the card for various transactions, including exercising their vote. So if the ultimate aim is to get there and we are not there yet, then it calls for a reflection and to be able to include other mode of identification as a means of what making people express themselves in terms of what voting. So we expect that much as we want to use the national card and we are not there yet, we must also have opportunity to allow people to use other means of identification to vote so that we don't disenfranchise people unnecessarily.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We had Dr. Osai Kwapong, who is a CDD fellow, joining the conversation. You just heard Dr. Kwame Asasante, political scientist at the University of Ghana. We also had Dr. Kwesi Amache Boateng, political scientist at the Kwame Nkrumah University for Science and Technology. Gentlemen, we are immensely grateful. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Take care.
Great. And moving on from the politics of things, we're coming home to talk about some other crucial matters. How about we talk about the fact that the School of Communications is 50. They'll be joining us on the show and they'll be telling us about what the rollout is. We also have later on the show the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Where you live matters. We'll be interacting with Elegant Homes and Superlock Technologies this morning, right here. More conversations to come. Stay with us.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for staying on the Joy News channel. It's still the AM show, and I have a pleasant surprise for you. You'll see her shortly. Well, the Department of Communication Studies at the University of Ghana is 50 years. It's been a long time training journalists and professionals in the communication field. Well, there's a lot planned for this particular event, and we'll be sharing that with you shortly. We'll also be talking about the legacy of the school, even as it commemorates 50 years since its establishment. Well, Dr. Abena Yeboah being is head of the Department of Communication Studies, and the surprise I was talking about, Jifa Bampu. She is alumnus Department of Communication Studies, and she's a member of the planning committee. Hello, Mama Jif. Good to see you. I'm so excited I can't help it. I mean, you can understand. Yeah. So, Mama Jif, one of the little girls of Mama Jif, and she's been very impactful in this particular field. So let me start with you. Let me take you back to your days in the School of Communication Studies. What memories does it bring, and what impact did the education you received there have on your profession?
I dare say that without that degree from what was then known as the School of Communication Studies, now a Department of Communication Studies, I got my degree there in 2006, an MA degree. Without it, I don't think I would have come as far as I've come. I'm a practitioner, yes, of many years standing, but it provided a certain foundation for everything we do in the communication space. It also created an opportunity for versatility. So much as I'm a journalist, now I practice PR as well. And there are new aspects of communications like digital, social media, of which I'm also now well versed with. And so it expands the opportunity, not just as working as a journalist, but into various areas that maybe some of us really didn't imagine. And a lot has changed, I must say, since I left the school some 17 years ago.
I like the bit of you mentioning what it used to be before what it is now. The school has gone through a long process to reach this destination, Prof. So just for those who don't know, tell us more about the school.
So this is the Department of Communication Studies. We started in 1972. Then as Institute of Journalism and Mass Communication, we've gone through a number of name changes, and now we are the Department of Communication Studies. But our core job is to train communication practitioners to serve in Ghana and beyond, quality communication practitioners. And I think that the last 50 years, we've acquitted ourselves well. When you mention our name anywhere, the association is with quality training.
Definitely, Jifa is evidence to that. But tell us about that's what I was coming to. No, that's what I was coming to. for you to tell us some of the practitioners who have gone through your school.
Oh, several. And maybe to compartmentalize into different sub-disciplines within communication. So since we're in a journalism studio, Jifa is an example. We've trained the Kwekuse Chiados, the Manasseh Awuni Azures, Suleiman Abrahima, who is now heading Media Foundation for West Africa. So several in the space of journalism. But we've also trained for other communication disciplines, and I'll just here broadly mention some of the people we've trained. Dr. Ekospio Gabra, Professor Kojo Yanka, Professor Margaret Amwakohene, Madam Esther Koba, Ambassador Amihie, and of course, the ultimate, JDM, John Dramani Mahama, former president of Ghana. So we are way up there.
That's a rich list.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
I just need to add one more name to that list, and that's Yauberfi Apenting,
yes.
who has, I think, one of those people who've done the gamut that not many have in management. So he was a news reporter, but became director of radio in GBC, left to become head of TV at TV3, then left to become director for graphic communications, the MD for graphic communications group, later became director general of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. So he's really like done at the highest management level, radio, TV, and newspaper.
So Jifa has mentioned journalism and PR, but what other disciplines do you offer?
Well, we have a lot of people, and because our media industry as a country has really grown, the media development space is also expanding. So also is these days with the coming of digital, if you like, those catering to misinformation, so fact-checking type organizations. So we have people in Media Foundation who are doing media development, Abigail Labi, Dora Mauto. If you go to Pen Plus Byte, we have Precious. If you go to those doing fact-checking, so Fact Check Ghana, we have people there, Dubawa, we have Caroline. And in fact, the whole team there are people from our institution. And so as the industry evolves, the new sub-disciplines that emerge, our people are also there and they're doing wonders that make us very proud.
Okay, so whenever I hear about the department, it has to do with a master's program.
Okay.
Is that what it is, or there are people who can just come in from undergrad level? I just want to understand the levels at which you train,
right,
and who can be a student of the department.
So for the moment, we only run graduate level programs. So we have a Master of Arts program, we have a Master of Philosophy program, which is a notch higher than the MA, and then we have a PhD program also. So all our students are graduate studies. They necessarily must have finished their undergraduate studies, and it doesn't matter whether they did that undergraduate study in journalism or media or comms. We've had pharmacists come in and do the course. We have agric students come in and do the program, provided when they look on the horizon, the career they want to have for themselves requires some training in media and communication. We're fine. We recruit them and train them, and they go out and they do wonders.
So, Jifa, let me come to you. Looking at where our world is gradually moving to, and the fact that communication is key, no matter where you find yourself, what recommendations would you give to persons who may be sitting at home saying, oh, like she says, I'm not a journalist. Why is it important that I even, study journalism? Communication.
So the reality is, for a long time, I think in this country, we have not exactly set the bar very high when it comes to requiring specialized, should I say, academic qualification in the field of communication. I say this because I grew up in Nigeria, and as a child watching their television, they had these glamorous and fantastic news anchors and broadcasters. And my mother used to tell me that each and every one of them had a degree in either theater arts or in communication studies, in English. So for me, as I grew up and ended up in this profession by accident, that advice kept hitting me from time to time, that this qualification was required. And there's this perception that to be in communications, all you need to do is to talk well. It's wrong. There are nuances with communication. You need to understand the medium, the channel with which you're engaging. And then you also need to understand the audience for whom you're communicating for, and the agency that you may be communicating on behalf of. So it's a whole gamut of things that one needs to know and appreciate. A lot of that you may get as a practitioner without having going to the school, but they're actually theoretical practices, laid down foundations for why things are as we see it, whether it's on radio, television, even in advertising, public relations, and now new media. In fact, I did new media. I think that was the first time that course was taught. The current rector of the GIJ, Professor Kwamina Kwansaidu, was my lecturer and my dissertation supervisor. I'll be honest with you, if I tell you I even understood what he was talking about, but it's come full circle. And there was no job like social media manager some years ago. There was no job like digital manager some years ago. But today, it is a job. People do masters in digital communications. So the truth of the matter is, for anyone who aspires to be in whatever role it is, not just in media, but in any role where they'll be performing a communications function, it is good, you know, if you have the opportunity to secure postgraduate qualification. And the best in Ghana, of course, is the Department of Communication Studies.
So let's zoom in. I was about to say something, but I'll say that off air. So let's zoom into the celebrations.
Right.
So what are we hoping to do? What's the line of programming?
Right. Okay. So on Wednesday, we launch a year-long celebration, and we emphasize that it's a year-long. Wednesday is not the do all, say all. We're only launching it on that day. We have the former President John Mahama, who is an alumnus, join us that day for the launch. Honorable Minister for Information will also be joining us, and a host of dignitaries who've passed through the department. But post-launch, we intend a number of thought leadership fora to discuss things pertinent to the media and communication industry in the country. We're having discussions, for instance, on access to information, accountability, and the journalist responsibility. What are the implications for the journalist safety? We want to have a discussion on that. We're having discussions on brand reputation management and protection in the era of the digital. We're also having a discussion, for instance, on development communication beyond the politics. A lot of the communication happening around attempts to develop this country have been muddied, if you like, by politics and political talk. We want to look what lies beyond it and how can we use our skills for communicating development in a manner that is more meaningful and that impacts life a bit more. So a number of thought leadership seminars are organized, public lectures are intended, but beyond that also in October, the department is launching what it calls the State of the Ghanaian Media Report, something similar to what ESET does, the State of the Ghanaian Economy.
That will be great.
Exactly.
Great.
Checking the health of the Ghanaian media on different variables and making pronouncements on what we need to do to make sure that the media can grow and practitioners can also thrive.
I'll allow you to continue, but permit me, is this just going to be a one-off or something you
no. It's not. It's meant to be a triennial affair. So every 3 years, we test the pulse of the media and publish the report.
Because I remember the recent Press Freedom Index, didn't put Ghana in a good light. And during the discussions, there were many, like Professor Jampo, who suggested, let's stop relying on these foreign entities and do something local. So I'm glad that we're doing that. But you can continue.
And it could only have come from the Department of Communication Studies. So beyond all these, in June 2023, we call all our alumni home and we have fun. We want to chill, do a homecoming, just have some fun, but also rebond and look at how to support the department going forward. I am an alum of the department. There are several other people who are teaching in the department who are collaborating with us in various ways. We want to bring all those people into one conversation so that the collaboration with the department is a bit more synergized and can achieve more.
All right, so Jifa, I'll give you the opportunity to give the final words.
I'm just calling on all our alumni to participate. There is no formal association currently. So the expectation is that with this, it draws everyone who's been hiding in the shadows maybe to come together, year groups that have been dormant or been inactive. It's an opportunity to reactivate them. We have specialists in the field. And so for these thought leadership lectures, certainly we will rely on alumni to deliver some of them because they do have the expertise across the spectrum of issues that we would want to raise. And so this is really a call to action for all of them to know that we will reach out to you. I'm sure some of them were surprised when I reached out to them wondering, I haven't heard from her in a while. Suddenly I'm getting messages, posters, and everything. So it is not because the department does not care about alumni. I just think that for a long time, there hasn't been really an opportunity to do this, and the time is now. So we want all alumni, whether we've called you or not, now you see us, call us also, and let's see how we can make it work. The department needs to expand. One of the pet peeves I know of many people is they can't get in because the numerical admissions are low. And so if we want more, we need to rely on your support because many of our people are corporate affairs directors here, they are managing directors here, they are in international organizations here and there. We need that support so that we can start the foundation for a new structure that can accommodate more people. And then the school can also recruit more lecturers. And then we can grow a bit bigger and also increase that pool of alumni. So it's a call to action. Please join us on Wednesday, whether you've received an invitation or not. Come, let's connect again. Let's let's bond again. Let's see our dissertations. We are planning to lay out some of the dissertations. Come and see it and ask yourself, really, did I do this? Yeah. I mean, come, let's just rekindle this spirit such that we can then come up with an umbrella association and then it can set the tone for better things to come.
So talking about contacts, you're on Facebook, right?
Yes, we are.
Media, digital media,
yes.
Okay. So
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole gamut. On all those platforms, we are there as Department of Com Studies UG.
Great.
And we are live streaming the event also. Actually,
okay, that's great.
Facebook.
I love that. Yeah, so you're practicing what you teach.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Even the ads, and we want to say a big thank you to the multimedia group, to Joy News, to Ken Ansa, and to Max Fuga for giving us the opportunity. We brought some ads, they've edited for us and all that. All those were produced by our own people. We didn't have to go to any production house. So we have the ability to do this kind of work. And we just want to say thanks for the opportunity to, enable us to share our message with the public.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are watching Jifa, let me just remind you, she was here with us. She went to do something corporate, came back, and went to media journal, and she's gone back. So it tells you how skilled she is. So if you're thinking of a school to go to, it's the Department of Communication Studies, usually. Thank you, Jifa Bamford. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Abnaya Boabenin for joining us. It's been an exciting conversation, and we'll definitely bring you new stories and other discussions from the programs that they're going to be organizing. But now, we'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll be having a conversation on the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. The first clinic will be happening this weekend. Do stay for details. Hello, thank you so much for staying on the AM show. It's now time to talk about the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. And the first clinic will be happening this weekend. The theme for this year's event is Where You Live Matters. Today on the show, we speak to some of our key sponsors, and we start with Elegant Homes. And we're grateful to have the Executive Director of Elegant Homes and General Construction, Dorothy Ifwa-Kwashi. Good morning to you, Dorothy.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for coming. Well, let's just zoom in to where you live, Martus. I mean, you and a couple of others, during the launch of the event, my colleague Benjamin spoke to you and you delved a lot about where you live, Martus. But let me just start off on this point of quality and cost. There's a lot of young professionals like myself who wish that they could afford a home, I mean, quite early in life, settle, and they just put that burden behind them and move on to other matters. But the concern has been the cost against the quality. Some people say, I go to see the facility, it's nice, but when I look at the products that were used, I'm not too sure how long this will last and whether I can take me that distance I wanted to take. And there are others who say that it's good, the cost and the product, there's some sync, but I can't afford it now. What does Elegant Home offer?
Well, Elegant Homes offer quality houses, and we also give room for people to choose what they want. So I would say that pricing and costs, quality goes together. You and I know that even for us females, when you go out scouting for wigs, you realize that there are different grades of wigs. So you choose what you can afford. And that's the same that goes with housing. I have from 3, 4, and 5 bedroom detached houses for sale. And I can say that our houses are built uniquely with quality materials and all that. And we also offer clients the opportunity to choose what they want. So basically, it depends on how much you want to spend on a house. That is how you look at.
What are your payment packages like? Do you pay an upfront percentage, or you have to pay everything, or you spread it over a number of years?
We have about 4 different types of payments planned for our clients. The first one is what we call the outright purchase. If the house is readily available, you pay 50% and then you have within 6 months to pay the remaining and move in. That is the outright purchase. And then we have mortgage with some of our financiers. Carl Bank is one of our bankers, Republic Bank, and then EcoBank and other banks. That's your mortgage requires that you pay between 20 to 30% and have the remaining 70 or 80% spread on monthly basis for as many as 10 years or 15 years. But this depends on your age, your income, and all the requirements that you have to meet with the bank. Then we have the third option, which we call the personal self-financing. That one is applicable to people who want to pay incrementally. That you can pay 20%, 30%, or 40% down, and then the remaining will be spread between 12 to 18 months for you. But this particular times of payment is applicable to houses yet to be started or under construction. And in the fourth payment plan that we call the alternative payment plan, is actually done on case by case. So for example, Bernice, you can come to me and tell me, this is my payment plan. We will look at it. If it's in sync with what we want to do, then we can grant you that. So basically, this is the payment plan. These are the payment plans that we have.
I like what I was seeing as you were talking. We have some pictures. In fact, the homes and the name totally match. Really elegant homes.
Yeah.
I like the modern architecture and everything. Are these homes fully furnished, or can I have an option to say, just give me the home and I'll furnish it myself?
Yes, we have 2 types. The ones that are fully furnished are basically our show houses. Okay. The show houses are furnished to kind of give you that kind of aura, what you should expect. However, you have clients who can also walk in and tell you, okay, I bought a home and I want you to furnish it for me. So that comes in as an extra cost. Or you can have your home and then do the furnishing yourself. But the basic amenities is provided. It's tiled, you have your kitchen, you have your sanitary wares, you have the wardrobes and all that, ceiling fans and everything done, except the touches that makes it a real room.
All right, so these homes, do you build them like estate houses, or they are located in different parts, and also, can I purchase a land and say, I want to contact Elegant Homes to do the construction for me? Does that work for you?
Yeah, these houses you see are all within our gated estates at Amrahi, Katamanso. You can see them, the designs are very, very unique. One thing that we do is that we don't put up the same type of houses. We want every client of ours to feel very unique. So that is how it is. Aside these ones that you see, we also give clients the option to choose a design of your choice. So for example, you can come into the estate for viewing, and if you don't like any of our models, any of the types we have, we can design something specifically for you, Bernice. Or if you have a design of your choice, you can bring it to us, and then we'll build just that for you. Or you can choose any of our existing models and have it customized to suit you. Now, we actually don't do lands, we don't sell lands. Even if we want to do, the condition is that Elegant Homes will build for you. You can bring any design of your choice, anything that you want, but Elegant Homes will do the construction, because it's a construction company. So it's the construction arm that is developing the estate. And secondly, we also want to be sure of what we build there. We don't want people to come in to bring people from outside to build, and the next time there's an issue, you know how multimedia will blow it. So we are very particular. We want to be responsible because we know how we build, we know the quality that we want, and then that's it.
So let's zoom into our theme for this year, where you live matters. How does this work with where your estates are located?
Yeah, so you can see, now there's this saying that there's nowhere far in Accra. You can see that growing up in Tema. I grew up in Tema, and those were the days when you talk about residential areas. All you hear is Tema, Sakumono, Abilinkpe, Spintex, Jowulu. But now it has changed. There are new areas that are developing, and most of them are very, very nice with modern facilities and infrastructure. And one of such is what we just saw, our estate. It has all that you need to survive. The roads are tarred, you have solar street lights, you have underground sewer system, you have 24-hour security, and then the icing on the cake is that now we have high-speed fiber optic internet within the estate. It is also very close to the city center. There are shops around, there are schools around, there are clinics around, and these are the basic things that people look out for when they want to buy a home. You also want to look at the neighborhood. Who are your neighbors? It's often said that neighbors are for better, for worse, just like the way we marry. They will never leave. They live on their own accord. And so when you want a nice place to live, you want to look at the neighborhood, the environment, the security bit, and this is what Elegant Homes offer.
So this weekend, the first clinic is happening at the Achimota Retail Center. For people who want to come and see what you have to offer, what's new? Even for clients who've come for previous editions, what's the new product or thing that you're selling this year that they should come and see?
This year we are selling new houses. We have new designs. Some have been built, some are still there for people to choose from. Aside that, we are also offering 10% discounts for buyers between now till the Habitat Fair ends. Aside the discounts, you get a fitted kitchen with a microwave and oven. You get to get central ceiling speakers, remote control gates, and then a garage. And aside all, a video doorbell. And don't forget, for those who will buy between now and December, we will also pay the installation fee of the internet service for you. So you get hooked up onto our internet service.
It doesn't get any better, does it? 10%. I mean, just the sound of 10% discount, it's exciting. And she goes on and on about all the other packages that there are to offer. But you've told us that you have a construction arm which can construct for you. But beyond that, are there any other products that Elegant Homes and Construction Limited has to offer clients?
Yes, we also fabricate and sell high-quality UPVC windows, profiles from Turkey. We also sell gypsum adhesives. We sell cornices,
plaster boards, and many more. So for those of you who are also building, you can also come in, look at our windows, our plaster boards, and then you can buy from us. That's one too. Massive discounts is assured.
So there may be somebody watching us, we live stream, we're all over the world, who says, I'm a Ghanaian, but I live abroad, and I won't be around for the Habitat Fair, but I need to contact this woman because I like her deals and I like what she has to offer. So how do they do that?
Yeah, before the fair, you can reach us on 0244 699 053 or 057 659 7419 or 024 897 4428. I repeat the numbers again: 0244 699 053 or 057 659 7419 or 024 897 4428. You can also reach us via email at sales@eleganthomesgh.com, or you can visit our website www.eleganthomesgh.com.
What a nice way to wrap the conversation. But let me just find out from you, how long have you been doing this?
You mean the estate?
Yeah, the estate
we've
job.
been around for some time, over 2 decades. Yeah. And we've done quite a number of landmark projects. If you've been to UPSA before, their lecture block and library complex, the 5-story, was done by Elegant Homes. And then our neighbor here, the Lands Commission.
Okay, great. And I'm happy that you're doing this, because you don't see a lot of women in construction, and it's exciting. And so, when a woman is heading something, it gets beautiful and exciting. So that's Dorothy Efuakwashi. She's Executive Director of Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited. And we've been having this conversation ahead of the first clinic of the Drone Use EcoBank Habitat Fair, which will be happening this weekend at the Achimota Retail Center. When we return, we'll be speaking to a rep from Superlock Technologies. Do stay tuned in. Some 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. It's now time to speak to the sales manager of Superlock Technologies, Ebenezer Bediako Kwabi. And it's all about the EcoBank Drone Use Habitat Fair. And the first clinic will be happening this weekend at the Achimota Retail Center. And Mr. Kwabi is here to tell us all about Superlock Technologies. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Benis.
Great.
Good morning to your viewers.
Great. So let's talk about Superlock Technologies. And anytime you put up a building, or anytime you acquire a property, or even rent, I know some people who rented say, I'm not comfortable about the doors, I'm not comfortable about the security. Tell us why Superlock is the best option on the market.
Okay, so thank you very much for your question also. Superlock is the best option in the market because, first of all, apart from giving you the best quality product, which is on Zeri technology, we also give you the best service, the best after-sale service. We give you all what you need. It's like one-stop shop for your house. So when it comes to security, we are the best. We are not only looking at security, but we also look at safety in your house. We also, whenever we come, we'll also give you on-site consultation. And all this, I can tell you that we are the best option.
All right. So run us through the kinds of products you have and what is best for which facility.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope my question is clear.
Yes, I do. So Superlock, when we talk about Superlock, most people know us for our security doors. But now, we are not doing only security doors. We are also doing super kitchens. Super kitchens is the best kitchen, the modern type of kitchens you can find in the market. We are also doing burglar proofs. We have all types of burglar proofs. Then we are also doing aluminum windows, glazing. We talk about curtain walls, we talk about partitions, we talk about casement, sliding windows and doors. We're doing also all those glazing stuff. We also do what we call pergola. I mean, pergola is a new baby in a way, but it's also doing well. We are the only company in Ghana that we are doing pergola with aluminum. I mean, most of the pergolas you find in the market is with wood, but ours is pure aluminum pergola. We have carport. We also have internal doors. We have internal doors, fantastic design, internal doors that are made of MDF with PVC finishings. Okay. I mean, it's very, very nice. So when we come to your house, we look at what you need. For example, if you need security door, we suggest for you. If you need something that has to do with safety, that is balustrade, burglar proofs, we also look at it and we give you according to what you need from your house.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So for some of these organizations, you have showrooms and other things. So tell us about where you're located. If people want to come and see before they invite you on their site, where can they locate you?
Okay. So Superlock currently, I must say, we have been in Ghana for the past 20 years. And currently, we have 6 branches across Ghana. We have a branch in Kumasi. We have a branch in Accra, Jawulu. We have a branch in Tema. We have a branch in Weja. And now we have the new branch also in Adenta. Also, apart from our branches, we also have showrooms for kitchens. Okay. Now we also have 3 showrooms for Superlock kitchens. So if you want any of our products, you want us here in Accra, you can find us. We have, I would say, 4 branches in Accra. We have Weja, Adenta, Tema, and Accra branch. I can give the short code out so that anytime, any day, anything you want, you just call us the short code and sure. A salesperson will reach you. Okay, so the website is superlockghana.com. That's the website, and our short code is toll free. It's *9999. *9999. So you can get us from anywhere in Ghana. The moment you call us, somebody will attend to you.
All right. So let's talk about the first clinic of the Joy News, EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. What products do you have on offer, and are there any special offers? Yes, Bernice, I must say. There are a lot of special offers we are going to give to our clients or our customers or the visitors that are coming around. I don't want to give everything out. Yes, but I can assure that, or I can show our customers or visitors that we have some of the products we are giving 25% discounts. Oh, wow. Yes, and we have some of the products also we are giving 20% discounts. So this is just a teaser. I'm just teasing you so that you all come around and come and visit our stands. Okay, exactly. Great. So on that particular day, when they come, what are they likely to see? Will you have physical products to showcase, and what will those be? Okay, so of course, we are coming there with some of our products. Look, I can tell you that when it comes to our security doors, for instance, the list of our security door, the weight is about 50 kg. It's over 50 kg, let me say. But here in the exhibition, I'm coming with about a minimum of 4 security doors. I want you all the viewers, visitors, come and test and see. I'm going to show you a door that the weight is over 50 kg. And that is about the security doors. I also will come with some of my balustrades. I will come with some of my burglar proofs, my aluminum systems. I talk about the casement, the sliding windows, the sliding doors. I also will come with some of them. I will show some presentations on my kitchens. I will show some presentation on my internal doors. I have fantastic internal doors. Yeah, we've seen a couple of them scrolling. Exactly. So all these products, you will see them here at the fair. All right. So your final words? Okay. So my final words is that, look, like the theme goes, where you live really matters. And of course, if where you live don't matter, then, I mean, why are you living? Yes, so I invite all our viewers, customers, everybody to come to the fair, and I'm sure that you meet us there
and we'll help you to come up with solutions to meet where you live. And also, like I said, Superlock, you can also find us on the, we have social media handles, also it's Superlock Ghana. And like I mentioned, I want to mention the toll number again so that viewers can get again. So star 9999. Call us and we have some salespersons too.
Star 9999 hash or just star 99?
Star 9999.
Just that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I know I said final words, but do you have any, I mean, in today's economy, I know a lot of people are worried about paying outright, upfront. Do you have any payment packages?
Yes, of course. We have some packages for some clients with special needs of special solutions. Of course, there's always a way out. So come, yes, we have payment terms. We have all the terms that you want. You come and let's discuss on.
So you just have to come.
Exactly.
That's it. No long talk.
Yes.
That's Ebenezer Bediakokwabi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
He's sales manager, Superlock Technologies, and the first clinic is happening this weekend at the Chimota Retail Center from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you don't have any excuse. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can come in the morning, come in the afternoon, come in the evening. We've got you sorted. From mortgages, consumer financing, land acquisition, security, and many more, everything housing is dealt with. You can call 054-690-8179 or 054-011-0389 for further enquiries. Hello, Ghana. Happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water and text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code star 780 hash option 2. Star 780 hash option 2 and follow the prompts on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Please don't waste any time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Also, a person who is not required to register for VAT may voluntarily apply to be registered. A voluntary applicant shall be registered as a taxable person where the Commissioner General is satisfied that the person has a fixed place of abode or business or reasonably believes that the person keeps proper accounting records related to any business activity carried on by that person, that the person submits regular and reliable tax returns, or reasonably believes that the person is fit and proper to be registered. Benjamin Akakpo joins me shortly as we wrap up the show. Do stay.
They caught us.
Right, so Benjamin joins me. Benjamin, that was an interesting conversation you had on the NPP's Delegates Conference. I mean, it was an interesting one. A lot of shocks.
Were you personally surprised about anything that transpired on the day?
Okay, so maybe in the beginning, but you know, when JFK got to the stadium, the rousing welcome.
Applause.
Better description than mine. You were there.
Yeah.
And
when I saw it in the film, you know, he had this confidence.
Yes, and then I thought to myself, maybe John Boydu may not retain his position. And it happened in the end. So I'd say it wasn't so much of a shock after seeing how the delegates responded to him once he arrived there. So, well, let's see how it goes. They still say they're on course to break in the 8. We've got our fingers crossed. Only time will tell. And talking about time, it's now time to leave the studios.
But hey, it's been enjoyable being with you this morning. And I was also interested in the Habitat Fair, you know, and it's going down, and all of us, where you live matters, which is why we all ought to be feeding into that, to check out where we live. There are lots of entities that are going to be coming our way in the course of the Habitat Fair. Superlock Technologies will be there, Elegant Homes, among many others. So join us.
The EcoBank, our headline sponsor, will be there to offer mortgages and payment plans for some of these homes and construction firms. Madam Kwashi mentioned that they have a plan with EcoBank. So, you know, you can just reach out to EcoBank and go to Elegant.
You get a package, get a home.
One-stop shop. You
In
know?
a few years, you'll be with something nice. But anyway, time now for us to run out of here because the Joy News Desk crew will be here shortly. A lot to give you on that front.
Yeah, do stay for details. But see you again, God willing, same time tomorrow at 6 a.m. We open the show. And as you know, we always discuss what matters to you. Do take care and enjoy the rest of your day.